Good afternoon, members. You are very welcome to this special planning committee meeting. I'm going to hand over now to Eamon, and Eamon's going to take us through the roll call.
Thank you, Chair.
No.
Members are hereby summoned to attend the special meeting of the Planning Committee to be held remotely today, Wednesday, the 24th of March at 2 p.m. Councillor Jason Barr.
Here.
Thank you, Jason. Councillor John Boyle.
Chair's Councillor Mooney here. Councillor Boyce just messaged me to say he's running a bit late, but he should be joining the meeting fairly soon. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Alderman Alan Breesland.
Here, Eamon.
Thank you. Councillor Angela Dobbins.
Here, Eamon.
Thanks, Angela. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
And Shaw.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Sean Harkin.
Here.
Thank you, Sean. Councillor Christopher Jackson.
Sure.
Thanks, Christopher. Councillor Dan Kelly.
Shaw, Eamon.
Thanks, Dan. Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Here, Eamon.
Thanks, Keith. Alderman Hilary McClintock.
Here, Eamon.
Thank you, Hilary. Councillor Kieran Maguire.
Late.
Thanks, Dan. Councillor Philip McKinney.
Here, Eamon.
Thanks, Philip. Councillor Aileen Mellon. Councillor Mellon. Councillor Sean Mooney.
I think Aileen's running late as well, Eamon.
Thanks, Dan. Councillor Mooney was on earlier.
Here.
Okay, thanks, Sean. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Eamon. Members, the next item on our agenda is the statement for remote meetings. So I'd like to remind everyone who's in remote attendance that this meeting will be broadcast live via Council's YouTube channel and will be available for viewing by the public and the media. The broadcast will be available for repeated viewing at a later date. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with Council protocol. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. By participating in the meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of these images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purposes of keeping historical records and making these records available to the public. A copy of Council's privacy notice may be found on the Council website. Members, the next item is declarations of members' interests. Is there anybody who wishes to declare an interest now? No. If there's any interests arise during the course of the meeting, could members indicate, please? Members, in terms of chairperson's business, you will be pleased to know that I don't have any. Other than to thank everyone for their attendance in this special council meeting. And I know we had indicated in the past that there would have been a requirement to hold a special meeting in March, and I appreciate everybody's attendance in order to get the business of today's done. But members, I suppose you don't need me to point out that we do have full council tomorrow, so we don't have the luxury for this committee to run on to the second day. So members, I'm going to ask for members' cooperation and all speakers, all interested speakers, to keep your points succinct and to the point and relevant to planning policy. I know some members tend like to set a picture and elaborate a bit more, but we don't have the luxury of time in relation to this meeting. So I'm going to ask members to speed up and make their remarks, keep their remarks short and to the point. Members, in terms of late information, there hasn't been any late items in respect to the business of today. So I've rearranged the running order to accommodate those with speaking rights. So the running order today is items 1, followed by 6, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and item 7. So it'll be, that's in terms of items 1 and item 6 have people registered as requesting speaking rights. Other than that, the running order will follow the sequence as being published. So, members, that's me in terms of chairperson's business. So I'm going to move straight onto the applications. And the first application that will be presented today is LA11 2018 1199 F, and it's Rosie that's going to take us through this. And while Rosie's getting the presentation on the screen, members, I'm going to just to let you know, there's the speakers in relation to today's business, and have a lot of them have issued their speaking notes in the event of a technical difficulty. So those could be read under, those speaking points could be read under the record. In relation to this application, there has been one objector who has that has presented an image, and the image has been referred to in the speaking notes. As members will know, our protocol or standing orders doesn't allow us to circulate photographs at the committee, but I have been informed that the Rosie will pick up this specific point as part of her presentation. So there has been an image that's referred to by the objector, which is not permitted to be circulated to members. But in respect to this application, I know Rosie is going to outline that specific objection as part of her presentation. So I'm going to hand over to Rosie.
Good afternoon, members. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Item 1 then, reference LA11 2018 1199F, is an application for a proposed shared pedestrian and cycleway. And if members have no objection, I'll not read through the entire description there, but the recommendation is to approve. So this greenway route runs from the Bay Park to the border at Cannings Lane, and it's part of a wider network of greenways connecting the council district to Donegal. So this slide just shows the extent of the route, where it commences at Bay Park and proceeds along Culmore Road, Culmore Point Road in Culmore Village, Arden Road to Hollybush Primary School, Coney Road to the border at Cannings Lane before crossing the county stream into Muff. So we'll just look at a few images of the route in more detail. So this is where the route commences at Bay Park. It then continues on under Madam's Bank Road and into the lands at Boom Hall. And there's no proposals on this section of the route to provide any new infrastructure. The path is as it is existing. The path then exits from the Boom Hall lands at the traffic light shown here in the top picture onto the Culmore Road, and as the map shows down in the bottom corner, the yellow bits, so the yellow line is the actual route, and the green parts on the map are the new landscaping that's proposed. So the route proceeds down the western side of Culmore Road, and it passes here at Heathfield, at Griffith Park. It proceeds along Drummond Park, and here at O'Donovan Drive and Larkham Drive. And the photograph at the bottom there just shows how steep the existing ground levels are at Larkham Drive. And the proposal there will be to widen the path by cutting into that embankment. The route continues past, this is the boundary at Sea House, and continues along the Culmore Road there. And if you look at the map on the bottom, you can see that the route along here comes behind the trees that are shown in the upper picture before proceeding then along Culmore Road. And at this point, the route then cuts off onto Springfield Road just using the existing road as it is. And a new portion of route then is proposed here through at the leading from Springfield Road into lands that are in the ownership of Thornhill College before returning, just lost my mouse, before returning back on to the Culmore Road then at this point. So this is the road at Springfield, and I'll be coming back later in the presentation just to the concerns that have been raised by objectors in respect of this route. This is the portion of the route now that's coming through Thornhill and back out onto the Culmore Road here at this point. So some parts of the route from this point on have already now been widened under joint works that are being undertaken by DFI Roads. So this shows the path already widened at this point. The route then continues along past Balnagard Crescent and the shops coming into Culmore, and then it turns down onto the Culmore Point Road at the Magnet Bar. So again, here we're looking down the Culmore Road towards the point, and along at the seafront, the pathway has been provided at this point as well. So the pathway has actually been widened at this point, and the carriageway has been narrowed. We come along then to Arden Road, where at the start of the route is on the existing footpath there that you see in the photograph, and the route then crosses Arden Road and continues up the I suppose the northern section of the road there along the existing embankment, so that will be widened to provide the route at this point. The route continues out Culmore Road, or sorry, Coney Road, and the top photograph just shows the route there at Grant's factory, and the bottom photograph as it continues on towards Culmore Country Park. So the route will be provided here on the left-hand side of the road, again by widening the existing verge. This is where the route in terms of new infrastructure terminates then at the entrance to Culmore Country Park. And the route then proceeds down Culmore Road, and it is quite narrow, or Coney Road, sorry, at this point it is quite narrow, but there are future plans, it's not proposed under this application, to provide any new footway along this path. The pedestrians or cyclists will just progress along the existing public road. So a future scheme will be proposed at a later date for this section of the route. Just the map shows there where the route comes back on then to Canning's Lane, and it'll cross, this is the existing bridge over the county stream at Canning's Lane. You can just see the bollards there that are across that route, but it's proposed to replace that bridge with the bridge that's shown here in the image at the bottom. So that is the extent of the route. You'll note from the report that we have received a number of representations in respect of the route. I'll just take these in order along the route. So at Drummond Park, we had an initial query from a resident as to why there were gaps in the proposed hedging at this point and at this point. But these plans, the objection was brought to the attention of the applicant team, and this hedgerow now will be a continuous hedgerow which will be located along this part of the route. So at this part it's proposed to provide new hedging along here. The route will continue in along the existing grass verge, and the existing hedge will be retained. There were concerns raised by the occupants of the houses along here at Griffith Parks. It's 102 to 108 Culmore Road that we can see. This photograph that I'm just highlighting here just basically allows you to see the relationship of the houses. This is the public road here that accesses these dwellings. Then you have this piece of greenway and the public road. So it's this bottom photograph here then on the right, sorry, shows how mature that hedge has now gotten. But it's a requirement for under this scheme to remove this vegetation, and it will be, I suppose, there'll be new planting provided along this section, and the greenway will be provided. If I go to just to this next image, this is the existing hedge. The greenway will be provided along this section of the route. So that the objectors at this point have just raised a concern as to why a similar proposal as at Drummond Park, where the existing hedge is retained, can't also be achieved at this section of the route. But the applicant team have advised that it's just, if I go back to this image, you can see there is a bit of a gradient there, plus the fact that at Drummond Park there is just a wider grass verge, so it's not easy to retain the existing hedge, plus provide a new greenway. Sorry, excuse me, and provide a new hedge along this section of the route, which would in effect give the separation that the objectors would request could be provided. So regarding the concerns on privacy and safety, there's existing separation to the dwellings provided, these dwellings provided by the existing road. So albeit pedestrians and cyclists will come a bit closer to these dwellings, but there's still a degree of separation provided. And there will be, to give separation to the existing road, there will be new hedging and new trees provided. There were also concerns regarding the fact that this hedge has been provided and maintained by the residents for the past 25 years, that it provides wildlife habitat and reduces noise pollution. In respect of the wildlife issues, NIEA have been consulted and they're satisfied that provided all the where any tree removal is required along the route, that it takes place outside the bird breeding season, which runs from the 1st of March till the end of August, that they don't have any concerns. Plus they welcome the fact that the replanting that will be undertaken will be all indigenous species. In respect of noise reduction and pollution, new hedging is provided, and the applicant advises that 5 new trees and hedges will be removed, and these will be replaced with 8 new trees and hedging. Now, the standard of tree that's to be provided along here has also been queried by objectors because it has changed from heavy standard trees to a lighter standard of tree, but the requirement for this is because at Colby Avenue, there can't be a restriction of visibility displays onto the Culmore Road, so the standard of tree to be provided is to be lighter in standard. This is the section of the route then outside Brook Hall Estate. At present, there's a footpath running along Culmore Road and a wall, and it is proposed to widen this footway to 3 metres, and that will result in a reduction in the width of the carriageway from 8 metres to 6.7 metres. So the objector here is concerned that in doing these works, access into Brook Hall Estates could be hampered, and they take farm vehicles in and out of this access, plus it is used by foil search and rescue when they tow boats, or if the fire service is required to attend an incident also. So there's just concern that by narrowing the carriageway, they'll restrict access through these gates. But the applicant team have examined this using auto tracking, which is basically a piece of software that allows you to establish whether or not, or to analyse whether or not vehicles can make a particular manoeuvre and whether or not they'll have the room to do that. So in respect of cars towing boats or trailers with tractors and trailers as well, they find that these manoeuvres can be carried out at present and they won't be restricted when the new path is in place. There will be a restriction where you've got any rigid vehicles or articulated vehicles, but that is the case at present, so the Greenway route won't exacerbate that. The applicant team also advised that regarding road safety, that a road safety audit has been carried out and didn't identify an issue at this location. In terms of Springfield Road, the proposal here is that once pedestrians or cyclists reach this point, there will be a pedestrian or a cyclist dismount sign erected, and it is then the preference that cyclists would continue down the existing Springfield Road and as described then come through this new section of path that's to be provided into Thornhill before returning back onto the Culmore Road. The residents at Springfield Road have pointed out that Springfield Road itself is very narrow and it's used frequently by large vehicles such as tractors. So it is also acknowledged that this section of the route is not proposed to widen it or provide any new infrastructure, and there's no intention to provide lights along this section. And we have queried that and been advised that lighting at this section wouldn't be in line with the DFI roads standards. So new lighting will be proposed along the new section of the route coming through the Thorn and returning back onto the Culmore Road. So in respect of this particular section of the route, objectors advise that they find no rationale for the deviation off the main road, and their principal concerns are regarding no lighting on the Springfield Road, the dwelling at the junction of Springfield Road and Culmore Road, which at this point impacts visibility, causing a road safety issue. Objectors consider that users of the route will not follow the route along Springfield Road and will instead continue along Culmore Road. And they've suggested that the carriageway along Culmore Road could be narrowed and a footway widened to 2 metres. And they also query whether a habitats regulation assessment was carried out. So in respect of the road safety issues, a road safety audit was carried out and it did identify a number of issues along the route as set out by the objectors. It's acknowledged that this section of the route is not ideal, but it has been considered and developed in conjunction with DFI roads. This is just a section of the route again through Culmore or through Thornhill lands. Now the objectors have suggested that the carriageway in Culmore Road could be narrowed and the footway widened. This image just shows the existing situation on that section of the road as we come across the dwellings at this point. Now, it's acknowledged that widening the footpath would be preferable, but it can't be delivered because the road is very constrained at this point. As you can see, there are walls on this section, and this is the wall onto the Sisters of Mercy lands. So the carriageway, even if this part of the carriageway was to be widened to 2 metres as suggested, DFI roads have advised that the actual usable width of the path would still be restricted due to these boundary walls and the position of the lampposts. So this could create its own safety concerns when 2 users would meet, and it may encourage one or other onto the Culmore Road. The applicant team have also advised that to widen the road at this point would require the demolition of a property, and it would require the acquisition of front garden space as well, and it could impact on this wall, which is listed as part of the convent lands. So in respect of the alternative solutions put forward by the objectors, officers must consider the proposed development as submitted and take the advice of DFI roads in respect of the acceptability of the proposed route. The applicant advises that there would be a preference for an offline section of route, which would basically take us from this point where this wee offline section is proposed on Culmore Road, come through these lands here, which belong to the convent, as I understand it, and then cross Springfield Road onto this new section of the route. However, the applicant team advise that this requires third-party land, which the council is unable to commit to at present. But in the interim, the applicant considers that the current proposal provides a satisfactory interim solution to this short section of route, and this alternative route is therefore not part of the application. As it's our duty to consider the route as proposed before us. DFI road section also advised that they've reviewed the representations and confirmed that the applicant's responses have sufficiently addressed the representations, and it's not considered that further amendments to the route are necessary at this stage anyway. So regarding the habitat regulation assessment, this was carried out by Shared Environmental Services, and they advised that the route won't have an adverse effect on the integrity of any European site. We received concern raised by a resident of Culmore Point Road, saying that the footpath at this point, which has already been provided, seems excessively high to them, and it's impacting on their privacy. But there was always public footpath along this section of the route. So we don't consider the path has been raised so unduly that their privacy is unduly affected. And it's been advised by DFI Roads that it has been raised slightly at this section, but that's to ensure that there's drainage away towards the carriageway rather than water running back towards the wall of the applicant's property. Here at Coney Road, there was a concern raised that this little derelict property would be demolished, and initial plans did in fact show that there was a proposal to demolish this property, but that is no longer the case. Plans have been amended to reflect that, and the solicitor acting on behalf of the those with an interest in 24 Coney Road have been advised of this. There were other concerns then raised regarding a lay-by outside the dwellings on Culmore Road in the village, but there's no requirement to impact on the lay-by. NI Water raised concern about access into the Culmore wastewater treatment works, but again, that has been addressed and there's no impact there. Vehicles will still be able to access. And at Coney Road, there was an initial query regarding landscaping, but there's now no proposals along Coney Road to widen the greenway at that point, so that's addressed. There were other general queries then regarding land take to facilitate the greenway, but anywhere where third-party lands are required, the council team have been in negotiation, and everyone received a letter advising that their properties wouldn't be affected, anybody who had queried that. The provision of the greenway route in respect of pedestrians and cyclists and disruption during construction, best practice methods will be employed during the construction phase. So a certain amount of disruption is probably inevitable, but the team will be working to keep this to a minimum. And then any impact on property value, well, it's set out in the SPPS that it's impact on amenity that we must give consideration to. So the planning policies are set out and detailed in the planning report, and the consultee responses also are set out in the planning report, and there was no objections raised by any of our consultees to the proposal. So the recommendation from the planning team is approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Members, I hope you'll appreciate that this application is unique in the sense that it spans a significant area, it spans across a significant area, and in turn, there has been a number of objectors and who have requested speaking rights. Normally, an objector, if there's a number of objectors, they would be expected to share the 5 minutes allocated speaking time, given that it would be unfair because the objectors may be coming from different areas. I've allowed for the objectors to be broken down into different areas. So the first bunch of objectors is Thomas Bell, Richard Agus, and Robert Gallagher. I'm going to invite yourselves to present to the committee, and you have 5 minutes to make your presentations. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members and Mr. Chairman. I'm Thomas Bell of Clydeshanks, and I thank you for your time today. Particularly grateful to the Chair, for as he said, we've been given a full 5 minutes allocation. I'm joined by Mr. Richard Agus, a roads engineer, and we both represent concerned residents at the Springfield Culmore Road. Mr. Gallagher is also online, the spokesperson for the residents group, and is keen to close. While listed as objectors, we very much welcome the principle of the scheme and commend the Council for investing in green infrastructure, indeed very timely with the climate change bill currently before the Assembly. In short, the residents do not want to frustrate the scheme unnecessarily. The sole motivation is specific to road safety concerns on one part in respect of promoting pedestrians onto a 150-metre stretch of Springfield Road subject to national speed limit, which 1 has no footpath, 2 is narrow, 3 is used by heavy agricultural vehicles, and 4 has no lighting. When Mr. Agus will elaborate further on that, I note that specific to lighting, the report presents to you a rebuttal to our client's concerns that new lighting is proposed along the new section of the Greenway linking Springfield Road. That rebuttal does not address our concern. Lighting is clearly not proposed along the road, but yet deemed necessary on the off-road detour section where there is no traffic. Having no lighting mitigation on a narrower road is counterintuitive in practice and respectfully contrary to planning policy and road safety. The relevant policy to be considered is a planning policy, not a DFI rules policy. The primary policy PPS3 is merely referenced in the report, but importantly not applied. Rather, the recommendation solely relies on a signpost to the members that the DFI have no objection based on a road safety audit. That same audit accepted the impracticalities of the detour, and I quote page 32 of the case report. Cyclists are likely to continue along Culmore Road. This then simply calls into question, why is the detour included at all? And is a planning policy compliant when the Council's own safety audit raised the same safety concerns? I'll pass you to Mr. Egas.
Thank you. Members, Chairman, I feel somewhat exonerated by the committee report as it quotes the safety audit, which has raised many of the same points which were concerning me. You are being asked to approve a greenway which safety auditors consider unsafe. That's a fact. The report states the proposed path is 3 metres wide, but that's not true. It narrows to less than 2 metres in places. DFI roads have stated 1.7 metres is too narrow. The auditors agree, and yet you're being asked to approve a cycle route which is 1.7 metres, a fact that is being withheld from you. The road safety concerns have been dismissed on the basis of a different greenway through Sister of Mercy's lands. That's not in front of you today. DFA roads have stated that Springfield Road is not suitable to be lit, but the audit and the audit team consider that is necessary. The alternative proposal put forward by ourselves and supported by the audit, as referenced in the committee report, suggests the route continues along Culmore Road. Localised carriageway narrowing can be widened. Localised carriageway narrowing could widen the footway, and that would provide residents with improved visibility. The carriageway is wide enough to do this, and it's similar to what's proposed at Brook Hall. But this suggestion is dismissed, and DFI roads consider that a proposal would require demolition of a property. That's not true. Such demolition is necessary to provide adequate visibility for displays that you're being asked to approve today. The bungalow on the corner of Culmore Road and Springfield Road prevents any visibility between traffic and cyclists, but that safety recommendation is being disregarded by DFI roads. Contrary to the committee report, our alternative proposal does not require any dwellings to be demolished, and it has no impact on the Sister of Mercy's lands. Last point for me, we're not seeking a refusal, we're seeking a deferral so that safety concerns can be looked at rather than dismissed, and that the alternative route, as recommended by the safety audit, can be considered rather than dismissed, and that the committee report can be revised to present you with the whole truth, not the sanitised version in front of you today. That's all from me. Over to Mr. Gallagher.
Mr. Members, Chairman, I would just like to reiterate that myself and the rest of the residents are fully behind the Greenway, as long as it is not at the expense of road safety. It's well acknowledged by everyone involved and the audit that coming down the Springfield Road at all is a dogleg which people probably won't actually use. And when we're operating heavy farm machinery, it is not safe to be traversing pedestrians scattered across the road. When we're turning in off the Culmore Road at present, it takes the full width of the entry at Springfield Road to pull a tractor and trailer into the Springfield Road, and if we have cyclists and pedestrians coming back out of it, there's a chance we may have to stop mid-manoeuvre and block a busy main road. Coming back out, as mentioned by Richard, the bungalow at the corner of Springfield Road gives very poor visibility, even in a car, and this will be exacerbated when pedestrians are entering at the same junction. So I and the rest of the residents believe that the best solution is an offline route. That being said, if the current route is kept as proposed, we would respectfully ask that additional infrastructure be considered. One being street lighting, two being that the existing verge should be cut back and trimmed along both sides with a digger, which could easily free up a foot on both sides of the road. And thirdly and lastly, the greenway should be demarcated with paint on the road so that pedestrians are encouraged to walk in an orderly fashion. At the moment, if you use this road and you meet pedestrians, you can be guaranteed half of them will stand on the left and the other will stand on the right. And even in a car, that's difficult, but try doing it in a tractor and trailer, which is already the full width of the road.
Excuse me,
So just
sorry,
to
Mr.
finish.
Gallagher, that's your 5 minutes up.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, I'm going to invite questions. Mr. Bell, Mr. Agus, or Mr. Gallagher. Is there any questions from members?
Chair.
Councillor Dobbins and then Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Chair. It's more of a comment more than a question, because I happen to agree with these guys. And I do commend, that they've actually come forward with reasons not to permit the way it is now, with solutions, which is more than what some people have done. And I do, whilst I am agreeing with them, I would like to commend that the mere fact, that they've come here, pointed out what they see, and in which I agree with, dangerous with regard to the Greenway. But they've also come up with solutions. So further down the line, I'll be taking this point up. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Sandra. Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Chair. I got Mr. Bell's issue that he raised. I wonder, would Mr. Gallagher just give me briefly the three solutions he was proposing for the Springfield Road again? I just got the last one on painting lines, but the other two I missed.
Yep, Dan, can you hear me okay? The first proposal would be for street lighting.
Yeah.
Second proposal would be that the existing verge should be scraped back with a digger, which is something that the road service do annually anyway, to reclaim the vegetation that grows across both sides of the road, and just trim it back as much as is feasible to regain the full width of the road. And lastly, demarcate the area for walking with paint on the road.
Thank you.
Councillor McKinney.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Gallagher, I have a question for you, if I may, sir. You're obviously driving tractor and trailer. Do you have to take up, swing out onto the full width of the Culmore Road to swing into Springfield Road?
It can be done without that, but obviously if you've no oncoming traffic, you would be inclined to swing out, but no, you can just about get in with oncoming traffic without swinging out. But it will put you across the full width of the Springfield Road, obviously.
How much width do you have either side of the vehicle when you've swung into Springfield Road there?
Well, the initial part of Springfield Road is slightly wider than the remainder of the route, but when you're on the main part of Springfield Road, both wheels would be less than a foot from each side of the road.
That's fair enough. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Any further questions, members? Okay, thanks, Mr. Gallagher, Bell, and Agus. I'm going to invite. Apologies. Members, Bernadette Nangle.
Sorry, Chair.
Good afternoon, members and Chairman. I had a hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go on ahead. Bernadette. Can I ask everybody else to keep their mic in mute?
Hello.
Go on ahead, Bernadette.
Sorry.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you for letting me speak. I had a letter wrote out that I was going to read, but Rosemary has answered basically everything in it. But I live in the front of the Culmore Road here between 102 and 106, and just we have mature trees already planted here and a green path, and we've been looking after for 30 years. Council has never had to look after it. And it seems that the designers believe that such a barrier is needed in terms of privacy, security and planning policy in Drummond Park. and I just want to know why they don't seem to think it's valuable here in front of us. And you know, we'd like the landscaping to be consistent with other parks. I don't see why the trees couldn't come closer, you know, that the cycle path is on the outside of the trees rather than in the inside. And I have no objection to a cycle path. It's a brilliant idea. Just I didn't get satisfactory explanation as to why the path can't run on the other side of the main road. Certainly no acceptable reason has been given as to why one set of private houses should be screened while others, including mine, should not. Just thank you very much. I'm just hoping that you can answer some of them questions, and I will be available to answer anything for you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Bernadette. And hopefully the officer will pick up that specific question whenever we get to that stage. But members, is there any questions for Bernadette specifically?
Chair, may I?
Not yet, Mr. O'Sullivan. Not yet.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Boy.
Thanks, Chair. Again, apologies for being late for the meeting. I got caught on another one, and clearly, obviously, as I didn't see the whole presentation, I won't be able to vote on this one. However, it may be useful for Bernadette to tell the committee exactly where on the Colmore Road she's talking about, because to give an address of 120 Colmore Road doesn't give me an indication of where it is.
Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, 106 Colmore Road. It's just up from the Foyle Hospice. Front of Griffith Park. Sorry, front of Griffith Park. Sorry.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I think we can all now place that in our mind's eye.
You turn up into Drummond.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Bernadette. Is there any other questions to Bernadette? Councillor Kelly.
Just on Councillor Boyle's point, I wonder, it would be helpful to me and maybe others if I could be directed to the relevant image for that section.
Okay. Rosie, can we get the?
Yeah, sorry, members, I am trying to get this to share. I'm just having a wee bit of difficulty at the minute. Bear with me.
While we're waiting for that image, is there any further questions for Bernadette? No.
Apologies, members. This is the section of the route here where Mrs. Nangle lives. So this is the hedgerow that requires to be removed.
Okay. Councillor Kelly, are you content now that in terms of familiarising yourself with the concerns of the objector?
I am, Chair, yeah. So I appreciate the officer did mention something about levels for that section.
Yeah.
Can I talk in here? Speak?
Very, very briefly, Bernadette.
It's just to explain, maybe I didn't explain myself correctly, you know, where they're taking down at trees and that are there and mature, and we have to accept that, but where they're putting other trees, could they not just like flip it around and put the trees on my inside to put some sort of breakaway or just barrier, or between me and the cycle path and my neighbours, obviously.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
point, and I'm sure that some members will pick that question up with the
Thank you.
applicant or the agent or the officer. I'm going to move on now to
Thank you.
Mr. O'Sullivan, the agent. Ken, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.
Ken, you're very welcome. You've got 5 minutes to present the committee.
Yes, thank you. If you will allow me initially to respond to the issues raised by the first objector in terms of the greenway at Springfield Road and One Up. Just to reiterate that throughout the design process, we have been liaising with DFI Roads as the adopting authority to review and to agree the design. And our design solution in this area has been discussed and approved with DFI. We have considered each of the issues raised by the objectors in the road safety audit, which was carried out by an independent third party, and we have agreed responses to each of the issues raised with DFI. We note that we are utilising existing infrastructure with the addition of appropriate warning signage, and we are not making the existing situation any worse along the footpath in front of the houses in question. We are providing cyclist dismount signage, which will work towards addressing some of the issues raised in terms of potential conflict with vehicles along Springfield Road. We also have concerns that the 2-metre cycle path, as proposed in the Clyde Shanks submission, if it was provided at this location, the actual usable width would be less than the 2 metres given the presence of existing boundary walls and street furniture, for example, utility poles and lighting columns. And this would in fact create its own safety concerns where 2 users are potentially passing, as it may encourage users onto the carriageway. We would also consider that the safety concerns in this area providing that the link to this area would encourage users along the Culmore Road rather than travelling up to Springfield Road, which we believe is a more safe alternative. In response to Mr. Gallagher's issues raised, in terms of lighting, we cannot provide lighting along the Springfield Road as it is outside DFI lighting policy. However, we will be able to clear the verge to widen the carriageway as far as practicable at construction stage, and we will work with DFI to agree and to consider if road marking and what suitable road markings can be provided to increase and improve safety along this section. We do accept that the route proposed by the objector may be the most direct route in front of the houses along Culmore Road. However, it must be stressed that DFI are unwilling to sanction a reduction of the carriageway width through this section to achieve a less than optimum standard of shared cycleway width. So its optimum standard of shared cycleway width is 3 metres, and we will not achieve this along this section without a significant reduction in the carriageway width and or acquisition of third-party lands along the boundary walls. We feel that over approximately 10 kilometres of greenway from Bay Road out to Culmore and onwards to Coney Park or to Culmore Point on Coney Road, we do not believe that this short section of greenway below a 3-metre design standard distracts significantly from the overall project proposals. It has been noted that Council are actively engaging with the third-party landowner regarding acquisition of their lands to provide an offline 3-metre wide greenway alignment from Culmore Road to Thornhill College, which will offer an alternative to using the existing path infrastructure from number 120 to 136 Culmore Road. And this proposal, when developed, will address the specific concerns raising regarding the current design at this location. However, in the interim, an acceptable design has been provided, which has been approved by DFI Roads. In response to Ms. Nangle's objection, as stated, we cannot commit to providing a landscaping or fencing boundary at this location at present due to the site levels in the area. However, we will review the levels and consider possible boundary treatment options at detailed design stage to see if some form of boundary treatment can be provided to try and address Ms. Nangle's concerns. If a fencing or landscaping boundary could be provided at this point, we would deal with this change through the appropriate planning process. We note that the grass buffer proposed is within the design standards, and we believe it is adequate to separate pedestrians and cyclists from vehicle traffic at Griffith Park. At this location, we are removing 5 existing trees and the hedgerow and replacing it with 8 additional trees and a new hedgerow, which is a net environmental benefit. And this is shown on the landscaping drawings. The new hedge will replace the existing hedge and will form a barrier between Culmore Road and the Greenway and Griffith Park. Thank you.
Is that Julie? Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan. Members, any questions? The agent.
Come in, please, Chair.
Councillor McKenna, going ahead.
Mr. Sullivan, yeah, I tell you, I'm just sort of at Brook Hall, the road is narrowing down to 6 metres there. What would you have to narrow the road down just past the junction there with, we're talking about on to Culmore Road, Springfield Road? What would the road narrow down to there that's unacceptable for the cycle path to go in? And also, I would say that the majority of people that cycle or walk are not going to turn left and walk up Springfield Road. They'll probably bump down the curb and cycle along the main road, causing a hazard anyhow, even without a path. If you maybe could just answer about the road width, I'm a bit concerned about the road width there on the Culmore Road, Springfield Road. Seems to be a bit of a problem. If Brook Hall could be narrowed down to 6 metres, can something not be done there?
Mr. O'Sullivan, do you want to pick up on that?
Sorry. Hello. Yes. Sorry, I was on mute. The difference at Brook Hall and at Springfield Road is that at Brook Hall we're providing a greenway within the optimum design standards, and at Springfield Road we could not provide a greenway within the optimum design standards if we reduce the carriageway down to 6 metres. We'd still have a substandard carriageway. We've discussed it with DFI. They will not sanction a reduction of the carriageway width to below the existing, down to 6.3 metres. But the key difference is that the greenway provided at Brook Hall is the optimum design standard. The greenway we could provide here would not be the optimum design standard. It'd still be left to the sub-optimum greenway.
Thank you. Councillor McKenna, does that answer your question?
In a roundabout fashion, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Dobbins.
Thank you, Chair. Look, Chair, I'm just wondering, is anybody else having bother with the screen and all? I seem to be stuck on Rosie's picture that she found there. But look, just to get back to that, I do really understand where the residents are coming from, and can you know, to be somebody who uses that road 2 or 3 times a day, you know, it's dangerous as it is, and I am really shocked that DFI roads are willing to accept a reduction in that part of the road. It's not acceptable by any stretch of the imagination by the frequent road users and residents in that area. And whilst we seem to be only talking about this one stretch of land, you know, from O'Donovan Road back to the roundabout, you know, further on down as well. I myself pointed out quite a lot of things that were highlighted to me, and I walk that road every day. So there's things that highlighted, and they were dangerous. And I was actually told what looks good in paper may not be good in practice. So I'm standing by those words, that I do believe that what may have looked, and I'm 100% behind a greenway, but I just think it was not it has been put down on paper, and it is not practical. So that's where I'll leave it for now. Thanks.
Thank you. And my apologies, I missed Councillor Boyle. John, do you want to come on? John? Councillor Boyle, are you there? Okay, Mr. O'Sullivan, do you want to pick up on any of those points that Angela made?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor. In terms of the issues raised, I mean, you know, as we've worked through all those issues with the design with DFI. We've looked at all the safety considerations. We look at all throughout the detailed design stage. We will look at appropriate signage and warning signage right along the route to enhance and to ensure that pedestrian and cycle safety is at the forefront of the design. And we believe that there's a solution there with that we can deliver, that will deliver a safe greenway for all users.
Thanks. Any further questions, members? Alderman McCondick? Alderman McCondick?
Chair, the whole idea of the greenway, I think, is a fantastic idea, but I do obviously have concerns, like others are raising, about the particular issues on this stretch. I know the Kilmore Road obviously very, very well. Obviously, we used to travel it whenever we were allowed to do so. But what I would just like to ask Ken maybe is the entire project from beginning to end, what would be the distance involved in that? And what is the distance of this detour up the Springfield Road? I'm just trying to put it into some sort of perspective. So what's the length of the complete project and what's the length of this detour as on the Kilmore Road? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, thank you. So the greenway from Bay Road, Bay Road Park out to the border, the county stream, is approximately 10 kilometres, which is a significant length of greenway. And if you just give me 2 moments, you're talking about 150 to approximately detour up Springfield Road, and the detour will take you in behind. That's to the point at Thornhill College. So in the overall context of the greenway, we believe it's a reasonably short, and it doesn't deter from the overall safety and the overall provision of the greenway along the entire route.
Ken, thanks for Chair for allowing me in there. I suppose it is a small area, but at the same time, like other speakers, I suppose I do have concerns as to whether people will deviate off the route. So thanks for that clarification.
Okay, thanks. And I know Councillor Dobbins wants to come back in, but I'm going to ask, is there anybody else that wants to come on with any questions? No?
Chair, just on Springfield Road.
Go ahead, Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Chair. I wonder, could I just get clarification on that image that we're looking at on the screen, figure 7A. It shows a section of the Springfield Road. I'm presuming that's from Culmore Road Junction looking inwards. There's a section, there's quite a wide section there, which is on the other side of a curb where the number 25 bin is standing. I know it doesn't seem to go the whole way up along to where the Thornhill land connection is, but is there a plan to continue that curb, that low curb up along the road? Or how is people's safety? There's obviously somewhere to stand in if you're walking along that section of the road, but when you go beyond that curb, it's a very different road. So what is the plans in terms of where do people go when there's a vehicle the full width of the road?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. If I can come back in there. along the 150 approximately meters of Springfield Road, there's no path infrastructure. We have carried out traffic surveys and speed counts, and the volume and the speed of vehicles along Springfield Road approaching the junction is quite low, and the design that we've proposed is within a quiet way design standard, and we believe it's an acceptable solution. As I said, the addition of appropriate warning signage both on Springfield Road and on Culmore Road to alert all users of potential for conflict will be provided, and markings on the footpath can be provided, and as I responded along Springfield Road, we'll consider further with DFI if appropriate road markings can be provided along Springfield Road, which will further improve the safety of the design through this section. But the important point I'd like to make is that is the quiet way design through this section that we believe we're in compliance with.
Okay, does that answer your point?
Oh yeah, thanks, Chair.
Councillor Dobbins.
Yes, and I do apologise, and thank you very much for letting me back on again. Just Mr. Sullivan, I'm not knocking the overall concept, and I have to let you know from the onset. But from even Thornhill School right to the Coney Road. Now that Coney Road actually has 3 or 4 hairpin, or not hairpin, zigzag turnings, and there's no, like, one car is all that's allowed to go on that road. And by the Culmore Country Park, like at the moment that is a country road, and the upgrade of it will be more than accepted and everything else from residents and those that use the country park. But you were saying about motorists having to maybe forced to mount a pedestrian verge. That has already happened in 3 separate parts of that Culmore Road. And where somebody just as lately as the month before Christmas, a young girl was hospitalized. So these are highlighted within me as a resident in the area and somebody who actually uses that, and listening to all the residents, from there. I'm really concerned too about the Arden Road. The Arden Road houses a large primary school, with around the corner on the Culmore Road is another primary school, and we have a severe problem with parking and everything else. We assumed, now, and I'm on the Board of Governors, we assumed that there would be conversations with the school with regard to maybe once that road, you're saying that the Arden Road would be widened and the Culmore Point Road widened, that therefore, to incorporate and help out the school. None of those conversations has happened. So I was just like to know, is there something going on in the background that maybe I'm not aware of in that area? Thanks, Chair.
Mr. O'Sullivan, do you want to pick up on any of those points?
Well, I'll pick up on a couple of points. I don't believe I said that vehicles would be mounting the curb at any location. That was certainly not my intention. But that's not what I don't believe that's what I said. What I said, it was more likely if 2 cyclists or 2 pedestrians are passing each other on the suboptimum greenway, that there was potential that one of them might step to the carriageway to avoid a conflict with an oncoming pedestrian or cyclist. That was the first point. In terms of Arden Road and Coney Road, we're providing a greenway path which is separated from the carriageway by vertical separation of a curb and a buffer strip where possible. So there is significant separation from greenway users from the carriageway. and that's an important point for providing an optimum greenway within the design standards at both Arden Road and Coney Road, and there is limited potential for conflict if you have pedestrians and cyclists along a greenway separated from the carriageway, both by, as I said, a curb and by horizontal buffer separation.
Angela, does that answer your question? And just to let you know, in relation to road safety, Lorraine McWilliams from DFI Roads is on the call as well, and will be available to answer questions during questions to officers.
Hi, thanks, Chair. I was just, I just don't understand why, when you have this big, lovely big plan in front of you and a few hiccups here, there, and everywhere, that, incorporation into other road users, such as the schools, and, that can't be incorporated there. It would be a win-win situation for everybody. But thanks anyway, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Horgan.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just a couple of points. One is, yeah, I mean, the number of concerns isn't surprising given the length of the project, and as many other people have commented, I think people in the area and across the district are very, very excited about this project in terms of the expansion of the Greenway and the development of the Greenway, and seeing that develop right down and connecting up with Donegal as well. I think it's a very, very exciting thing. I'm just wondering, given the number of concerns, I know there was initially, and this is for Mr. O'Sullivan, I know there was initially some discussion about the path going along the waterfront. And I know I've heard some disappointment that that's not where the Greenway is actually going. We have had the same number of safety concerns that are being heard out right now if that option had been taken. And I'm also wondering, if I mean, I feel like I need to go and walk this route to get a real sense of exactly all the different concerns, whether it's where a tractor might turn or where somebody's house is relative to the Greenway. I feel like I need to walk it to really understand it, and I guess that's what people who live in the area are most familiar with, have day-to-day contact. Maybe that's something that would benefit councillors as well, to try and get to grips with this. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Horgan. And I suppose in respect to your question, I'm going to give Mr. O'Sullivan an opportunity to come on, but I want to keep the questions relevant to this application, and we can only deal with the application that's in front of us. But I do note your concerns that there was alternative routes that were put in front of us. Mr. O'Sullivan, do you want to come on and pick up on any of those points that Mr. Councillor Harkin made?
Well, I mean, I would like to say that along the Culmore Point Road and the waterfront, we have looked at design options, and that would be standard throughout any part of an evolving design. The design shows a footpath on the opposite side of the waterfront. We don't believe we could have provided a footpath along the waterfront safely, and therefore that's why we've addressed that concern and put the footpath at the opposite side of the carriageway, and that has been, I think was Rosemary mentioned at the start of the meeting, delivered by road safety under their, or road service under their permitted development powers.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further questions, Mr. O'Sullivan, I have one question, and it's because I'm getting a sense, and there's a comment there from Councillor Dobbins around the site visit, and it was alluded to by Councillor Harkin as well, around it would benefit from walking the route. Would a site visit, a deferral for a site visit, have any implications on this project?
Well, the project is, if you let me just come in, Chair, the project is funded by SUPB, Piece 4 Peace Funding Scheme, and we are under a programme sort of constraint to take it forward to the next stage. We note that the application was submitted in 2018, which is a number of years ago, and I suppose we are on a programme that we need to take forward the procurement and construction delivery of the Greenway. That must be considered. Thank you.
Okay, but there's no specific funding requirements in relation to for the planning permission needs to be secured within this financial year to secure funding. So a site visit wouldn't rule this application out.
We need to. It's the funding window is requiring us such that we need to get construction moved on in the first quarter of next year, and obviously there's a long lead-in time for procurement and detailed design, and every programme week counts really at this point.
Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan. Members, and I suppose just on the issue of a site visit, it goes without saying that we in the current climate, we can't give any indication on when, in terms of time frames, when a site visit could be conducted safely under the regulations. But if that's what members wish, if there seems to be an indication from some members that that's the route that they want to get down, then I suppose officers can explore it. I'm going to move off now from questions to Mr. O'Sullivan and go to questions to the officers. And Councillor Dobbins, have you a question for the officer?
I do have a question. Thanks very much, Chair. Rosie, it's just with regard to the whole project, right? Whilst it is for approval, and I'm 100% behind, and I want to keep saying this, but there were so many bits and bobs along that way that had grave concerns, and I'm serious about the graveness of it, and I just believe that I had said it before, Sean had said it, but you know what, Chair, we need to be able to walk this with somebody that, with Rosie and ourselves. I do this every day. And I myself, jump in sometimes with the volume of the traffic in there along that road. And at different points, it's so narrow that, yes, and I do apologise to Mr. O'Sullivan. I must have picked him up wrong when I said about forcing motorists onto a pedestrian strip. But as I said, that has actually happened. Because a car, before they would crash onto another car, they decided to mount a verge and crash onto any pedestrian that's walking by. So, Chair, look, I would like to propose, before any other questions come up, that we have a site visit as soon as, and go along that route from start to finish, because whilst there's a great area, there's really bad areas there, and like at the end of the day, we've had part of a new road done, and it is brilliant. It is fantastic. But where they want to put in a greenway to expect cyclists, and with a secondary school and 2 primary schools in that area, we will have children who will be taking their bikes to school. And you know what? I don't want the death of a child not on my conscience, but without having to say this, I believe 100% we need a site visit. I do realise that I didn't hear the word restraints or constraints with regard to funding, but we are in a pandemic, and I know that some what would you say, leniences has been given. So yeah, we need that, Chair, and I'm proposing it now rather than go on further.
Thanks for the proposal. Councillor Boyle, do you want to come on that?
Well, not really on the site visit element of it, and it's more an observation, and perhaps a question that could be answered by Rosie or others in the planning team. As you pointed out yourself there, Chair, in the chat box, we're talking about a route here that's running up close to 10 kilometres. And I think we all understand and appreciate that there were always going to be a few pinch points along a route of that magnitude and length. And clearly we were always going to see some element of objection, for want of a better way of putting it. I'm sure most people, if not everybody on this call, supports the idea of having a greenway. Chair, I just really, as I said, the point I want to make is, I mean, clearly there are areas here that are contested in relation to safety, but there are other lengthy parts of this greenway that are uncontested. And I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I mean, the lands belonging to the City and District Council. I'm just wondering, as the wisdom of presenting this as an entire planning application, but I suppose we can use this now as an opportunity to thrash out some of that, and perhaps then there will be an opportunity then to go back to the drawing board if there is a site visit. But as I said, I was late for the meeting, Chair, so I don't want to be proposing or seconding anything, but that's just a few thoughts from listening to the debate around it.
Thank you. But members, we have a proposal on the floor. On the proposal, members, is there any other thoughts on it? And the proposal, just for clarity, is that we defer this application to allow for a site visit.
Chair, can I just come in there? Just like Councillor Boyle, Chair, I was held up at another meeting and missed the presentation at the start from the officer, so I'll be sitting out this vote, but happy to go with the committee as well.
Apologies, Aileen, I caught the end of that.
Sorry, Chair. It was just like Councillor Boyle, I was late to the meeting due to other commitments. The meetings ran on, so I'll be abstaining as well, and I'm happy to see the direction the committee's taking anyway.
Okay. Members, there's as yet nobody's seconded a proposal for a deferral, but I don't have another proposal or a question to the officers.
Can I come in, Chair?
Yeah, Councillor McKinney, just before I bring you in,
I would second that
Councillor
deferral as well.
Councillor McKinney, just before I bring you in, I just want to highlight again the fact that we do have an official from DFI Roads on the call. So in relation to any concerns around road safety, it may be useful if we were to direct those questions to Lorraine McWilliams. But Councillor McKinney.
Fair point there, Chair. Thanks for letting me in. In fact, I will actually ask the DFI representative a question about this junction we're really concerned about, which is the Springfield Road Culmore. Is there any way at all that the wall can be taken back, the land can be purchased and made safer? Because I'll be quite honest with you, no, let's be quite frank about it. People are not going to turn left and go up Springfield Road. People are going to bump down on the curb in their push bikes or walking or whatever and go straight along Culmore Road. It's just, I don't think it'll be used the way it should be, and it's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McKinney. Members, Lorraine, do you want to pick up on that particular point around the Springfield Road junction and the fact that that pedestrians and cyclists may not follow the advice or any signs? Lorraine?
Take it back in there.
Okay. Go on ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Chair. No, the point I'm trying to make is, look, can the land, if need to be, not be purchased so we can still have, you know, the 6 metre width, minimum width for the main dual carriage, for the main carriageway, and still be able to accommodate the cycle path, stroke pedestrian path, you know, or is this all down to pounds, shillings and pence, basically?
Okay, and I see that I don't see Lorraine was on the call, and I see she's dropped out. So, can we direct that question to Rosemary?
Sorry, Chair, Rosie here. Could that question be repeated, please? Apologies.
Yeah, Philip, and I just see Lorraine has joined the meeting again. But Philip, do you want to come on? I know one of them was around purchase of additional land to increase the sightlines. But Philip, do you want to clarify the question that you want to pose to Rosemary?
Yeah, what I'm saying here is, you know, just to reiterate, I mean, most cyclists and pedestrians will just carry straight on there. They will not turn left. Let's be quite frank about it. And they're not going to go all the way around up Springfield Road, turn right, and come back down again to join the Culmore Road. You know, I honestly believe that, you know, is it down to pounds, shillings and pence that this is the cheaper option instead of just purchasing the land that would allow you to have a minimum of, I think it's 6.9 metre width for the dual carriage, for the carriageway, and then is it, I believe, is it 2 metres for the cycle path, pedestrian path? And you can correct me if I'm wrong here. What I'm saying is basically, it sounds to me, it sounds as if it's maybe down to pounds, shillings and pence, and this is the cheapest option to go up and go round the houses and down the other side. But I can tell you now, people, nature, they'll just go straight on. They won't bother diverting. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor McKenna. And just to remind everyone, this is a council application. So, Rosie, do you want to pick up on that point?
Chair, it's difficult for us to comment. We're considering the scheme as planning officers that has been put forward to us. I don't know if maybe Ken wants to come in there and the purchase a requirement for third-party lands, but I don't think that's something we as officers could comment on.
Chair, if I can.
You can't.
Come in.
You can't. I can't bring you back in, Ken. We're moved on to our questions to officers. But we do have. We do have Lorraine McWilliams from DFI Roads on the line now, and Lorraine may come in and advise on the requirements and the road safety implications for this particular application. Lorraine.
Good afternoon, committee. I just thought I had dipped out earlier. I was just in for a test. I'm in for a later application. Unfortunately, I and Development Control have no involvement in this particular application, but it is a joint design between Council as applicant and DFI Roads. So it has been, the input has been through Council's agent and design team, plus our traffic colleagues, Declan McBride and Harry Gallagher, who have participated in the safety audit and signed off on it as overseeing organisation or agreed the responses. But if committee has any particular queries, I'm happy to make a note of them and contact both Declan McBride and Harry Gallagher and come back through the agent or directly to committee, whichever way you want to do it.
Okay, I appreciate that, Lorraine. Thank you. Members, is there we still have a proposal on the floor from Councillor Dobbins to defer this for a site visit. There is no other proposal. That proposal isn't seconded, and there's no other proposals on the floor. And there's no other indicated speakers for questions to officers. So, members, how do you wish to proceed? I'm inviting another proposal, or if there's somebody wants to second Councillor Dobbins.
Chair, I thought that all Councillor McKinney had seconded. Maybe I picked that up wrong. Sorry, Chair.
Apologies, I didn't pick it up if we did.
That's correct. Thank you, Keith.
My apologies, Philip. I didn't catch that.
Chair, can I just come in with your permission?
And on the proposal.
Yeah, it is really, yeah.
Yeah, go on ahead.
And I do
We've got a lot of
apologize.
business to get through today, so
Yeah, I understand that, and I do apologize, but I don't know, for some reason, this iPad of mine, I only see a wee tiny picture of you, and I'm seeing everything, stuck pictures here on my thing. But anyway, this is not just about road safety. You know, this is about the way forward. It is a connection between Donegal and our city. You know, when you look at the bigger picture, then you know, we can't be looking at maps and things like this, and this is the way it's going. Best practice is actually know what we're talking about. And I have to be honest, I do know what I'm talking about because I live down there, and I use that road. So I am stressing this is not just because of road safety. This is to do with a bigger picture, connectivity, and what would be good for the city. And you know what? A half an hour site visit would be beneficial to everyone concerned. Thanks, Christopher.
I concur. I agree that if we're taking a decision, we should have all information in front of us. And everybody should be familiar with the site. I personally, I believe that I am ready to take that decision now. And I agree that connectivity and sustainable travel is very important and going forward. But if members wish to, if some members wish to, that they feel that they would benefit from walking along the site, as we've heard, then that's a decision for members to take. Councillor Mellon, do you want to come on?
Yep, thank you, Chair, for bringing me in. And maybe it has been covered, but just weary that we're at the end of March, and I just wanted clarity in terms of the funding for this scheme. As deferring this application for a site visit, does that put any funding at risk, or is that funding secured? I wonder would any officers be able to clarify that?
We got that clarity earlier, that it's not a deferral beyond the end of the financial year is not going to jeopardize any funding, but there is very real time constraints on this project, so
the deferral doesn't jeopardize it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't immediately put the funding at risk. So we've had that clarity.
That's great, thank you, Chair.
Members,
Can I ask a question?
On the deferral, Councillor Murray?
It is. Just one question really. If the committee's minded to defer, I was wondering how quickly could we get that meeting up and running if the committee is actually minded to defer the application.
See, in relation to site visits, it's unfair for us to put officers on the spot and tell them and give a time frame. We have to. It will require a risk assessment on the particular site. We would need members to indicate if they wish to attend or not. So officers would have an indication of how many they expect. So just in relation to the current, and I suppose it also refers or relies on what the current restrictions will be at that point in time. So if members wish to have a deferral, I don't think it's fair at this stage for us to expect officers to come back and give us a time frame. There's too many variables in it, and I suppose the main one in that is how many members wish to avail of a site visit. So I hope you appreciate, Councillor Monet. It would be unfair to put that question to the officers at this point in time.
Oh, that's fine. I was just maybe just seeking a bit of clarity as they sort of hypothetical dates, but no, I appreciate your reply. Thank you.
I think the point was made as soon as reasonably possible that the site visit would take place. Members, there's a proposal. Is there anybody who doesn't? A proposal to defer, seconded by Councillor Dobbin, seconded by Councillor McKinney. Is there anybody with a contrary view to that proposal, or anybody against the deferral? No.
Chair,
Councillor Kelly.
I'm not against the deferral, but like Councillor Mooney, I think I'm concerned about maybe a long time delay in terms of this, maybe not coming back to the May committee meeting. And I think with the Easter holidays, pushing the April meeting back, there was maybe a chance that if people could, work sort of collaboratively, that we could have get the numbers for a site meeting through fairly quickly, a risk assessment conducted very quickly, possibly even a site meeting done next week, and it could have come back for the April meeting, which would have a very short delay in terms of processing the application. But I don't have an objection to the deferral, but just I don't want to see maybe 2 months lost just to bring it back to the committee.
Yeah. No,
Chair,
I just don't think.
Chair, if I can just come in,
Go ahead.
Just on that point, I don't think there's any prospect whatsoever of it coming back before the April committee. And given where we are with the restrictions at the moment, I think that the May committee would be unlikely at this stage. I hope that the restrictions will move quickly, but I certainly would not be particularly hopeful of this coming back before the May committee at the present time. So realistically, I think members would be well into the summer months before we would be in a position to bring this back if the site visit is required.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Boyle, is this in relation to the deferral?
Chair, I'm not sure the city solicitors quite got what's being suggested here, but I think it's being suggested, Chair, this is a walking site visit, that people will turn up individually and they will be able to socially distance. And so therefore, I think, the current restrictions are not actually constraining people from going for a walk. We simply have to walk along many of the walkways that we currently already have to see the many thousands of people who are enjoying it out there. So I can't see why restrictions should prevent us from moving quicker on this.
Councillor Boyle, I hope you'll understand, and you will be familiar, that members aren't allowed to conduct their own site visits. So
Sorry, Chair,
I
didn't make myself terribly clear there either. I think members can congregate at the start of it and they can walk it in a socially distanced manner to get a sense for what it is that we're talking about.
Chair, I think the issue is more around the current position for the planning committee in relation to holding of site visits generally.
Members, there's a proposal on the floor which has been seconded to carry out a site visit. Now, the form of that site visit is yet to be determined, and I suppose the only specification is that the site visit would be carried out as soon as possible. So that's the proposal that's on the floor. Is there any objection to that proposal? I take the points that were made by both Councillor Mooney and Councillor Kelly around concerns of this drifting on, and I would share those concerns. But if there's members that genuinely feel that they would benefit from a site visit, then I do not oppose the proposal that's in front of us. So is there anybody who's opposed to the proposal that's in front of us? No. I'm going to take that as unanimous then, members. And
Chair, can I be marked as abstaining on that?
Yeah, yourself and Councillor Mellon have both indicated that you have abstained.
Chair, Councillor Maguire.
And Kieran, thank you. But the result remains the same, that the proposal to hold a site visit for that application has been passed. So the officers will be in contact with, the communication will go out in relation to the site visit in the near future, hopefully. So the next application, members, is Appendix 6 in our packs. It's LA11 2018 0186, and it's a proposed multi-sport and/or an outdoor facility, and it's Malachy that's going to take us through that.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, good afternoon, members. Item 6 is L11 2018 0186. It's an outline application for a multi-sport outdoor facility, incorporating a wellbeing centre, community youth facilities, an indoor 6G pitch, fitness suite, sports hall, conference accommodation, exhibition and event space. And it's located lands due north of Holy Cross College and due south of Ardenlee Park, Strabane. The recommendation is to refuse. The application was previously presented before committee in July 2020. It was resolved at that stage that the application be deferred to allow the applicant to submit further information relating to natural heritage issues and transport issues. Site location, it's outlined here, is in red. The site is located off the A5 bypass in Strabane. The site comprises 2 large fields. To the north of the site is a residential area known as Ardenlee Park in Strabane, and we also have educational uses to the south at Holy Cross College, and some residential uses at Melmount Gardens, and also to the east we have further educational uses as well. It's just an overhead view of the site will give you an idea in terms of the context. As I say, it's 2 large fields, a large strip along the A5 bypass, and you have a more rectangular field in here, which is basically the main part of the site in terms of the location of the proposal. Here's some images of the site as we are traveling along the bypass. You may be familiar with the existing boundaries. There's semi-mature vegetation going along, as well as the existing footpath on the bypass. And with some internal views of the site as well, just to give you an idea of the current nature of the site. Just go through these in July as well, so you may be familiar with them. This photograph here and map will show you the residential property to the north of the site. This shows the existing access to the field. And this site here again to the northeast shows the internal from the field towards the existing access, which is a laneway. There was a pre-application discussion or PAD held in relation to this application. A meeting was held in October 2017. The applicant was advised of the key policy requirements and was advised at that stage that requirements should be addressed in full to allow prompt consideration of proposal at application stage. At that stage in 2017, the applicant was advised the proposal was contrary to the Strabane area plan as the land was zoned for planning. DFI roads were involved at that stage and advised that the proposal was on to a protected route and that the relevant policy AMP3 applies, and the planning, in that case planning, would only be granted for development directly onto protected route in exceptional circumstances or where the proposal is of regional significance. At that stage, and in the pad letter, the applicant was advised that an alternative means of access to the site should be sought because there was a belief that this was neither exceptional circumstance nor proposal of regional significance. A pad letter was issued advising that if an application was submitted, the number of reports would be required. These included a transport assessment, drainage assessment, noise impact assessment, construction environmental management plan, bat survey, habitat survey, and design and access statement. The pad letter concluded that if council advice is not followed, the result will almost certainly be that your application will not be progressed quickly and it may be refused. The application itself was submitted in March 2018. The original submission was accompanied by some documents, and these included a design and access statement, a community consultation report, and a transport assessment form, which is a preliminary aspect of a transport assessment. Further information was submitted at various points during the process of the plan application. A preliminary ecological assessment appraisal was originally submitted in August 2018. This report informs the content and need of reports such as the SEMP, habitat survey, and bat survey. Upon consultation with NIE, an updated PA was requested, and this was one of the pieces of information that we've received since the deferral in July, and that was received in November 2020. A drainage assessment was submitted in January 19. A noise impact assessment was submitted in June 19, and a planning case regarding the planning route, the protected route and Strabane area plan was submitted in June 19. The original transport assessment was submitted in September 19. Again, this was assessed at the last application stage in July as being not adequate. This was one of the outstanding matters for deferral. Therefore, a revised TA was submitted in December 2020. Bat survey was submitted in February 2020, and the SEMP, again, one of the outstanding issues, was submitted in November 2020. Although this is an outline application, there's been some degree of detail indicated in an indicative block plan submitted along with the application. As you'll see, as per the description, the indoor arena is located here on the western side of the site, the larger field. You have spectator areas around proposed outdoor football pitch with other associated facilities. Also, we have an access road with parking along the north and further parking elsewhere in the site. The indoor element is circa 45,000 square foot. Will incorporate a well-being centre, use facilities, full-size pitch, etc. And the outdoor element is a full-size pitch enclosed by spectator facilities. Access to the site is via a new access road, which will be via third-party land onto the bypass. In terms of representations, there has been 8 letters of representation at this stage of the application. 7 of those letters of support have been received. 6 of those are from elected representatives. And there's been a further letter from the football governing body, the Irish Football Association. In terms of the matters raised in support of the application, it's been highlighted that this will be a strategically important proposal for Strabane and the surrounding area. It's been raised that the view that the Strabane area plan is old or out of date, that there is no housing shortage within Strabane, that will bring much needed recreational and youth facilities to Strabane, and it will meet strategic objectives of IFA and improve facility provision in the Strabane area. Will bring economic, health and social benefits to the area also. In addition to the letters of support, and following the recent submissions, There's been a further letter of representation, which was non-committal in terms of object or support the application, but just asked the council to consider the imposition of a condition of a condition to provide a suitable boundary in the interest of safeguard and privacy, and this was received from Holy Cross College. In terms of consultees, NI Water have no objection to the application. DFA roads have been reconsulted on foot of the transport assessment and access arrangements submitted in December. They have advised that the proposal in their view is still contrary to PPS free and it's contrary to credit risk policy, and that adequate access parking and movement has not been demonstrated through the submission of the additional information from the TA and the right-hand turning lane. Environmental Health Department have no objections. Locks Agency have no objections. The NIEA have been reconsulted on foot of 3 pieces of information submitted in November 2020. Have no objections subject to the conditions. Shared Environmental Services likewise were consulted on the same 3 pieces of information and have no objections subject to conditions. And DFA Rivers have no objection for no further information may be required at the presented matter stage. Policy assessment, the site is identified within the Strabane area plan as being zoned housing land within the settlement limits of Strabane. You see in the attached image, the blue arrow will point to the location of the site in brown. Section 6.4 of the Planning Act requires the council to make planning decisions in accordance with the local development plan unless material considerations indicate otherwise. Submission by the applicant includes the Strabane area plan is out of date and land was landlocked. The site was only suitable site in the Strabane area plan, and housing land had not been taken up and precedent had been set elsewhere. While all those are material planning considerations, when they're weighed against the loss of the zoned housing land, we do not believe that they should be given indeterminate weight. We've considered each of those. The Strabane area plan is currently the statutory plan the council makes plan decisions on, and therefore is not out of date. It has not been conclusively demonstrated that land cannot be accessed for housing. It's not been conclusively demonstrated that this is only suitable site in Strabane or the surrounding area. And reasons as to why housing land has not been taken up are speculative and officers' views. Whilst there are examples of zone housing land being developed for all our uses, they're minor in comparison. And we'd also point to the fact that there's the last remaining uncommitted zoning in Strabane area plan for housing. PPS free, the key policy consideration, and particularly in relation to access onto a protected route. In this case is the A5 Strabane bypass. Protected routes policy is a well-established planning principle going back many years, where protection is given to key transport links in terms of what can and what cannot access onto them directly. The A5 forms part of the Western Key Transport Corridor, which links Derry and the northwest of the border just south of Auckland. And DFA believe due to significance of this protected route status, and this is reflected in regional plan policy as set out in PPS free and reiterated again in the regional policy, strategic planning policy statement for Northern Ireland, the SPPS. It's one of the 5 key transport corridors in Northern Ireland, which are basically the top tier long distance routes connecting cities and main towns to the major regional gateways. These routes contribute significantly to economic prosperity, and it's important that they're protected for this function. If you look at this particular protected route, we believe that the Strabane bypass serves a number of functions, including relieving congestion in Strabane town centre residential areas, and allows free flow of traffic from Derry, Dublin, and any uses that would impinge on any of these functions would would have a negative effect on the overall function and reasoning for a bypass. It is important that a new access on the protected route does not compromise the function and that they allow free and safe movement of traffic and do not add to congestion or traffic building up or parking on the road itself. So AMP-free is the relevant policy of protected routes, and as touched upon earlier at pad stage, this was raised. This AMP-free sets out a presumption against plan permission for new accesses, unless it is demonstrated there is exceptional circumstances or where the development is of regional significance. Exceptional circumstances considered as per case were put forward to allow development on zone land, and we do not think there's an exceptional circumstances to lose zone land for the proposed use. Again, the regional significance is considered. It is accepted that this is a major proposal for Strabane and the surrounding area, which would have many positive benefits set out in the letters of support and previously by the applicant. But on a balanced view, we do not believe that it would be of regional significance, i.e. that it would affect all of Northern Ireland or the northwest of Ireland. Proposal isn't specifically referred to or included in any programme for government, regional plans or government body strategies, and no evidence has been put forward to suggest that this proposal is a regionally significant application. Again, additional information submitted in December 2020 was in response to outstanding information that's set out at the Planning Committee in July 2020. We received an updated transport assessment and amended access details of right-hand turn lane of the protected route. DFA Roads have viewed this, and the amended information believe it's not sufficient at this stage. It does not address previous concerns and refusal reasons. Among a number of issues, the TA does not contain standard information that you would normally find in a transport assessment, such as having a travel plan or a service management plan, a road safety audit. The TA suggests a less significant proposal than previously stated, and that the proposal will now be for, instead of being for 500 spectators, it will be for 300 spectators. And the trips generated data, which basically gives you an idea of where people are coming from or going to from the location of the proposal, suggests that the trips will have a very local focus and a very local impact. They do not give any indication of any cross-border traffic coming to the location, and most of the location is primarily from Strabane town itself. I suppose this would be at odds, in our view, if the suggestion the proposal is of regional significance. The design of the access detail is not the required standard, and there are a number of other technical details outstanding in relation to this. So therefore, we believe and take the advice of DFA Roads that the proposal is contrary to AMP-free, and has also not been demonstrated that other policies within PPS-free in relation to access, movement and parking have been adequately addressed, or which would be expected of a major application, albeit an outline application. It is a major application. We would expect that information to be addressed at this stage. In terms of PPS2, previously in July, one of the outstanding issues is that we were unable to make an assessment under the habitats regulations because there was a number of outstanding reports which did not allow us to carry out this important assessment. We received 3 additional reports in November. We received an updated preliminary ecological appraisal, a habitats regulation assessment, and a construction environmental management plan. We reconsulted NAE and SES bearing in mind that the site is within 800 metres of the Foyle, SAC and ASSA, and both bodies have come back saying that they are satisfied that the proposal meets PPS2 requirements, and an assessment has been made under the HRA regulations, and there's been no significant impact on habitat features of the SAC or ASA identified. And therefore, we believe that PPS2 policy requirement has now been met by the application on foot of the information submitted in November, and therefore previous refusal reasons as put forward in July have been removed. In relation to PPS 8 OS4, this is an overarching policy in relation to the actual proposed use in terms of intensive sports facilities. It sets out a number of criteria. The 5 criteria relate to amenity, impact on natural historic environment, the standard of buildings, and demonstration of needs of different modes of transport, and a demonstration that the road network can handle extra traffic and adequate parking, etc. has been provided. As stated before, we have no significant issues with amenity, and we believe that this can be mitigated through suitable boundaries, etc. And the design of the building will be a matter reserved at outline stage, at reserved matter stage. As said out elsewhere, still, the review has not been satisfied that the other criteria in relation to roads and modes of transport has been addressed within OS4. And therefore, I cannot say I'm satisfied that PPS 8 OS4 has been met at this stage. Also relevant within PPS 8 is OS7, which relates to floodlight and sports and outdoor recreational areas. We believe that there will be no unacceptable impact on the amenities of people living nearby. Again, this is an outline application, but environmental health and NED are content subject to further conditions and informers, which will insist on further detail of the floodlighting being submitted at reserve matter stage. Therefore, PPS 8 OS7 has been met. PPS 15 relates to planning and flood risks. There's a drainage assessment submitted. Rivers Agency had some concerns, but they're very minor and can be dealt with again at a more detailed stage. So we're satisfied that PPS 15 has been met. And just before we use the reasons for refusal, I'd just like to point out that there was an error in the committee report, where one of the refusal reasons was repeated twice. So just to clarify, there's 5 reasons for refusal. First relates to the Strabane area plan and the loss of the zoned housing land. The next 3 relate to, second one relates to the protected road policy. The next 2 relate to the safety and convenience of road users in terms of the access and also in terms of the car parking services of the site. And the last reason relates to PPS 8 OS 5, and again it's linked to the roads refusal reason that we have been satisfied that's been discharged by the applicant. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Malachy. Members, there's a few indicated speakers in relation to this application. First of all, I'm going to invite Daniel McCrossan, MLA, to address the committee. Is Daniel on the call?
Yes, Chair. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're very welcome, Daniel. You've got 5 minutes to address the committee.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, members. I'm delighted to be back in front of you again in relation to this application. I think we covered quite a lot of the ground on the first time round, and that we had steered towards the narrative in terms of how we move forward. I'm conscious that the plan likely has quite a the issue road of course the first The recommendation by officer refused as in July. Nothing has really changed. Does not take into account the decision by the committee in July, which is disappointing. The committee then, as I've said, set the direction of travel, and I would urge you as the committee to see it through rather than re-debate the issues that we originally discussed. I'd also like to point out that Strabane Athletics, since this application was first considered, has spent a further £20,000 to compile reports and respond to the issues raised by this committee, which brings the total spending by Strabane Athletic, a voluntary club, to £90,000, which is hugely significant. This development will create state-of-the-art facilities which will enable many local sporting organisations to progress in their sport while ensuring that the needs and requirements of individuals are fully met. Given the historic underinvestment in the Strabane area in relation to these facilities, this development will send a strong signal that the people of the wider area have not been forgotten, and it also would be a very strong connection to the more recent announcements around City Deal. The development will create local jobs during the construction phase and afterwards, and the local area has high unemployment, as people will know. The development will include a partnership with statutory authorities and all local schools in terms of facilitating a multitude of youth projects. In the wider Strabane area, there is an acknowledgement of a lack of facilities for youth provision, and this development will go some way in bridging that gap. The wider Strabane area has also had a multitude of health issues, with many people suffering from core morbidities. We believe that this development would help tackle this issue head on, and having welcoming facilities in addition to local campaign work. This council area has also heightened levels of mental ill health and suicide, which we believe this development could have a positive impact on and help drive down those trends by getting people more active. The development also offers the potential to drive forward sport in the area by helping people reach the highest echelons in terms of their ability. This includes elite athletes and competing in national events. There are also major economic benefits that would emanate from the development, which has buy-in from local businesses. And just in terms of the main points of rejection that's suggested by the planners, and I know they've done a huge amount of work on this, but the A5, albeit there's a slight delay, it is slight, this A5 is going to go ahead. The current route is a protected route, but will be downgraded when the A5 is developed, and we've made that argument quite strongly. In terms of housing, yes, it's zoned housing land, but there's no access to this land except going through parish land that permission has been granted to Strabane Athletic only to access. And the parish priest, Father Michael Doherty, has made very clear that in no other circumstances will access be granted except for that of community benefit, which would suggest that other than this application, it would be landlocked. And in terms of regional significance, if Strabane Athletic are playing against other teams, then it's highly likely that people will be travelling from right across this island, depending on who they're playing or what stage they're at. So that negates the argument around regional significance. This is a regionally significant project, and one I, as MLA, want to see developed. And I know all other parties in the area are united on this cause. There's been a huge amount of effort put in by the leadership team of Strabane Athletic and others in the community to see this at the stage it's at. And I want to put firmly on the record today this desperate need for these facilities to develop, and to thank members for their consideration the first time round. And I would implore you to give it strong consideration today to ensure that we can deliver these state-of-the-art facilities for Strabane area. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Daniel. The next speaker is Councillor Michaela Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and send the video here. Having some technical issues. Chair, thank you for allowing me to speak on this application today. I speak in support of the application, as I did previously before the committee. It has been already well rehearsed that this application, I believe, and others, is a project of strategic significance, not just to the town of Strabane or this area of the district, but this project will indeed benefit those involved in sports right across the north and indeed into the south. Everyone wants a first-class sports facility in their own area, and Strabane is no different. The people of Strabane are extremely excited about the successful prospect of this application being delivered. I too would want to pay tribute to the Strabane Athletic team and all associated with them for their work on this application to date, Chair. On reading the report, there are indeed some issues still to be resolved. I have listened to Mal today and Daniel McCrossan, the MLA, and have heard how these issues can be resolved further down the road. I do believe, Chair, that every avenue should be explored to get a resolution and to assist the application to move forward. This is indeed an outline application, and the problems therein are raised, obviously, with DFI roads. Everyone is concerned about the safety issues onto a trunk road. Of course, we all want to make sure that health and safety of road users and pedestrians and everyone is of paramount importance. And that's what we are trying to achieve here today. If there was a more positive announcement last week on the A5, I think access onto this particular stretch of the road may have been a minor issue today. Chair, and I listened to Mal, but I'm seeking further clarity, or can I ask if the committee has sought any clarification or work with the Minister's office if this application has been deemed of regional significance or of significant to the region. You know, I think there's further work to be done there in terms of exploring that even, you know, and I'm sure others here on this call today will be supporting the application and will, you know, want every avenue explored to get the endeavours of a successful resolution on the issues that are presented here today. And Chair, I just want to also just say it would be remiss of me as a public elected representative in Strabane to say, you know, that in regards to housing shortage in Strabane, I know that, you know, in terms of a result in loss of zoned housing land, this land has been looked at previously by others looking to develop. As the MLA said, you know, this is a community benefit. The owner of the land wants to see it given to the community for the benefit of sports and recreation. Housing, they would have the same issues in terms of access, and the result of that would be sitting where we are today. But just to put it on record, you know, we are in a public meeting, and you know that we know what the issues are, we know what needs to be resolved, and I would urge and implore members of the committee today to seek a resolution to what's outstanding and move this forward as a matter of strategic. You know, it does demonstrate regional significance, in my opinion, and we want to work together to ensure that this project comes to fruition. As Daniel outlined, for the mental health of people and the well-being of everybody, we have been denied a lot in the Strabane area in terms of sports facilities down through the years, and I want to pay tribute to the work that the council are doing in that regard. But this is significant to Strabane, it's significant to the north, and indeed to the island of Ireland. So I hope a resolve of the issues can be resolved today and we can move forward with it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Boyd. And in relation to your question to the officer, I'm sure another member of the committee will pick that question up, and if not, I will. Next speaker is Councillor Raymond Barr. Raymond there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just trying to
you're very welcome, Raymond.
Trying to send this video. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Heads of Planning for allowing me to speak at this. Before I start, I would like to declare an interest as a founder member of Strabane Athletic Football Club and as a former committee member. A lot of what I'm going to say probably echoes what I said at the last meeting, but once again, I would ask the committee to give serious consideration to approving this application. Again, I just feel the civic status of the town would no doubt be elevated with the projected economic benefits this project would provide. We talked at the last meeting about the health and well-being benefits associated with the project. After the events of the past year, never had there been a demand such as we are presented with now to address those issues. Drug abuse, on-street drinking, social deprivation have increased the demand tenfold for the benefits this project would provide. 3 schools in the immediate area will be able to access the complex internally without negatively impacting on the bypass. Lockable Special Needs School is directly beside the proposed complex. This school has no recreational facilities whatsoever. And the club itself, in its 10 years of existence, has gone from strength to strength, completely transforming the provision of opportunities for the youth of Strabane and the district to partake in competitive sport. From the youth setup, catering for all ages, right up to senior level. Add to this a ladies senior team and ladies netball team. The possibilities for expansion and diversity are endless. In terms of commitment, the club has proved they're financially committed, having invested approximately £80,000 to get the project to where it's at now. Such commitment and dedication should be rewarded. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Barr. Our next speakers are Joanne Muldoon and Seamus McElroy. He's on the line.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You're very welcome, Joanne.
Yeah.
Seamus
Thank
there.
you very much. Yes, Chair, members of Council, members of Planning Service and those present. My name is Joanne Muldoon. I'm a Director in Manor Architects and Project Architect on this proposal. Just as a recap and to cover some ground which Michaela, Daniel and Raymond covered so well, during the meeting of July 2020, the committee had given Strabane Athletic, a charitable organisation, the comfort of their support, their acceptance of the significance to the region which the proposal could provide, as well as noting their acceptance that this was an otherwise landlocked site unsuitable for housing provision. A letter was provided confirming that the local parish priest was fully supportive of the community benefit this project could provide, and as such would permit access for solely this purpose. This gave Strabane Athletic the confidence to spend an additional £20,000 to complete the various reports and to compile those to address the specific consultee responses needed that were outstanding at that time. We have satisfied all the relevant criteria and all of those issues have been met. The position now is that although this guidance was provided by the Planning Committee, the Planning Service recommendation remains as a refusal based on the same 2 core issues noted in July 2020, those being 1, deviation from the local area plan for land zone for housing, and 2, access onto a currently protected route. Although there are reasons noted as 1 to 7, there are actually 5 reasons remain, 4 of which are DFI roads related. The comments in these 2 core issues fail to take account of the information provided. They are based on outdated development plans and fail to take account of the significance to the region which this facility would provide, particularly at this challenging time. We would also reiterate that these issues were discussed at length during the group meeting in July 2020, and committee members were fully supportive of the scheme and its progression, which we were extremely appreciative of. A deferral was granted to address and provide additional reports, which, as we've said, have been provided and accepted. Yet we find ourselves in the same position. The summary of the 2 core issues for refusal. Strabane, the planning position is the lands are currently zoned for housing in the Strabane area plan, thus the proposed use is contrary. Strabane Athletic and Manor Architects have undertaken significant research into available lands within the Strabane development limit and found no other land parcel suitable for such a development. This was provided to Planning Service as part of our PAD and outline applications, and this is an outline application. The ownership of the land means that it will never be developed for residential use, and we suggest that the area plan from 2001 is outdated. This position was discussed at the previous committee meeting and agreed that it was a landlocked site, and acknowledgement given that the parish would not release the access to anyone other than a community or a charitable group. We have proven that no alternate access is viable to this site for any purpose. We feel this, therefore, is not a viable reason for refusal. The second core issue, the protected route. The planning position is the proposed access into the development is from a protected route. Again, to reiterate the comments by Daniel, this is a short-term issue because the new road, the new A5 will go ahead, and therefore the reasons for this become entirely defunct. There is the provision for the Council Planning Committee to override the protected route status where the proposed development is deemed to be of regional significance, or in this case significant to the region, and consider an exemption under AMP3. I think we're all in agreement, as we were last year, that this is such a case. This was discussed again in July and agreed that this application is certainly significant to the region and area of Strabane, and again more so when we take account of the issues just noted by Raymond, Michaela and Daniel. It is highly unusual for an outline application to be scrutinised on the detail of specific geometries, which can be resolved at reserved matter stage. We would further note that no opportunity was given to address and respond to those issues contained within the case officer's report. These are technical details which can be addressed at the reserved matter stage. Comments were made about a traffic management plan and the like. Again, that can be addressed when the academy or when the Strabane Athletic have a clearer picture of the actual flow of cars and traffic to the facility. In concluding, well, firstly, we feel that again that this issue has already been agreed and that we would continue to seek and appreciate the support of Council. In concluding, we would ask that the committee not to go over furloughed ground already, that these are purely policy and tick box driven reasons for refusal. We would ask that the committee can continue with the vision and the foresight to see the benefit which this development could bring to Strabane and the outlying areas. In ending, the core reasons for refusal remain as they were in July 2020. However, we now have the benefit of the completion of all requested expert reports at a cost of £20,000 to this charitable organisation, and all of these have been accepted. We would also remind the councillors that this application is for an outline approval. A reserved matters application could address the detail of layout, road geometry, and any of the issues noted in the case officer's report. In consideration of...
Sorry, your 5 minutes are up.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I just finish the statement?
Go on ahead, you can bring your remarks to a close.
Okay, just in closing, in consideration of this, the previous discussion and support awarded in July 2020, we would very much hope and appreciate the continued assistance and vision of the council members in overturning the planning decision. Approval of this application would provide significant community, regional, economic and youth benefits at a time when it is needed most. Thank you very much for your time and for listening.
Members, is there any questions? Joanne or Seamus? No?
Hello, yes.
Hello? No, there's no questions. I'm going to move on now to questions to the officer. So is there any questions for Malgi? Councillor Gallagher?
Thank you, Chair, for letting us in. A couple of questions for Malgi. And a lot of this is two things around housing and the protected route. And I'd asked, has the officer considered the housing element to this, that issues around it being landlocked, that it would never be successful in housing going on that land due to the fact of that it's been well documented that it's landlocked and there won't be any permission given. Secondly, around the protected route, and was a consideration like this protected route is well compromised along this road, as in Bradley Way, Early Road, Castle Grange, Strands Road, Archer Road, Mammoth Road, which is all in the distance of around 1.5 miles, 2 miles maybe, that this road is well compromised. So the difficulty around it being a protected route is hard to really realise the fact that there's so many compromised on it. Has any consideration been given to that?
Thanks, Maggie. Just again to point out that Lorraine is on the call, so if there's any roads related questions, such as Councillor Gallagher's last question there, we'll ask Lorraine to pick it up. But Malky, do you want to pick up in terms of the housing element and the zoned housing land?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, we have considered, the representation at application stage on this matter. It's I think our reply set out in the report at 12.9, 12.10. Whilst the lands adjacent to the bypass are owned by the parish, it is our view that there may be other, or it's not been fully explored, other access options to the land involved. Also, as a planning officer, I cannot say without any conviction that the land's going to be landlocked forever. So whilst we can give it width, we don't think it will give it terminal width in this application.
Lorraine, do you want to pick up on Paul's question in relation to the protected route?
Yeah, I can do that, Chair. Councillor Gallagher, I can see through Chair, I can see where you're coming from with respect to the protected route issue and your comment that that is well compromised with respect to Strahan's Road, Orchard Road, and the other accesses you've mentioned. And that is something we have researched in detail because we don't come to council lightly on this. Apologies now for going into an awful lot of abbreviations here. The Strabane bypass is listed in the Regional Strategic Transport Network Plan as specifically designed and constructed as a strategic route improvement team, and it was a scheme, and it was done in the late 1990s, early 2000s, to take traffic from the Melmount Road, which was the former A5. And that at this stage is the bypass, the A5 Western Route Corridor. Yes, we have the flagship strategic route improvement scheme in the pipeline, but at this stage, the Great Northern Road is a protected route. It's a key transport corridor, and yes, Strahan's Road comes off it, Orchard Road comes off it, Castle Grange comes off it, but they all predate the added protection that was afforded the route through the Regional Development Strategy, the Regional Transportation, the Regional Transportation Strategy 2002-2015, which was published in 2002. The Regional Development Strategy 2035 was published in 2010, and the Regional Strategic Transport Network Transport Plan in 2005. All of these documents emphasise the importance of key transport corridors and accordingly protected routes as the upper tier of the Regional Strategic Transport Network in Northern Ireland and the north of Ireland. And that is why it is also a protected route, and that's also highlighted and discussed in detail in PPS 3 and for AMP3. To give you an indication, it's one of 5 roads, and you can feel free to stop me if you've heard this before. It's one of 5 roads that comprise 5% of the road network in the north here, but carry 37% of road vehicles. And as you know, their functions to ensure efficient movement of goods and people between major regional gateway towns. That is why we are so protective of it, and why DFI Roads has provided and has raised a significant objection with Council as Plan Authority to this particular application at this location, in that it wants to bring an access onto a protected route. Does that answer?
Thank you, Lorraine. And it did started to lose you a wee bit at the end, but I caught all of what you said. But the line wasn't great.
Oh
but
dear,
Councillor Gall, does that answer your question?
Chair, just to come back on that. See, this road was built and it's been compromised, and I think that has been acknowledged by the previous speaker that it's well compromised. Any strategy after that, doesn't matter what they call the original strategy, and there's a number named there. Any strategy after that, if it doesn't take away those compromises, i.e., Strands Road, if it doesn't take that away, if it doesn't take away Orchard Road, if it doesn't take away Melmount Road, if it doesn't take away Bradley Way, if the strategies don't take that away, then it doesn't make this route any more protected, any more compromised. It's well compromised. And the strategies won't do that after the fact, unless they take them away and call this strategy as a new protected route. But by the fact that it's compromised, this application isn't going to compromise it anymore.
Can I respond to that, Chair?
Go
Very
ahead.
briefly.
Yep.
I don't agree that it is compromised for Strahan's Road, Orchard Road and what have you, because they were designed in and designed into the bypass. The only access post-dating, and this was referred to in the previous July 20 committee, is Castle Grange. And that's why I'm telling you that. Well, you can, I mean, they've been designed in. If you're telling me, if you're stating that that Strahan's Road, Orchard Road should be stopped up and maybe grade separated junction or other design, well, that wasn't the case, as that wouldn't have been, and I can't speak for the designers, it would have design viable. And what I'm saying to you, the only access after it is Castle Grange. And the strategy and policy after the date has strengthened the importance of the key transport corridor. Well, that is why the department has raised an objection to this application under AMP3 of Planning Policy 3.
Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
I'm sorry, I have one more sentence. This has implications for any of the key transport corridors, and the department has to strive to protect them as the strategic transport network for Northern Ireland and for the trans-European network, of which the A5 is a part. That's me, Chair. Apologies for extending that.
No, not a problem. Thanks, Lorraine. Alderman Kerrigan.
Chair, thanks for letting me in. Sorry, I was going on the same line here as Councillor Gallagher there. And in relation to this says, as far as I'm aware, maybe I've picked it up wrong, this is deemed as an outline application. And I'm wondering, but I suppose it all depends too, Chair. If we were to pass it, I mean, it's only outline. It'll have to come back as a full application. And I mean, this could be a long-term thing. It could take quite a period of time before there's anything on the ground on this site. I mean, can Lorraine there give us, I know we have there's a hold up there presently, but is there any, has she any information as to a potential time frame for the new A5 corridor in that particular section there? When will effectively, I know the simple answer is this section of the A5 will not be downgraded from a main arterial route until such time as the other one is opened. But if we had a rough estimate of a time frame, and apologies, thinking on it now, should have asked the question to the applicants there in relation to their time frame if they were to get permission. Because as far as I'm aware, it's outlined at present, and then by the time then outline, if we do overturn it and support it today, you have to go for full, and by the time they have the money to do anything on the ground, this could be a couple of years before there's anything done, and hopefully at that stage there'll be something with the road. But I'm just wondering, is it just the case that once the new A5's up and running, this is downgraded, and effectively are these reasons which DFI put on all wiped out at that stage, Chair? That's just where I'm kind of going from.
Chair, could I respond?
You can't. Apologies.
No problem.
We're not allowed to go back. We're questions to officers now. Lorraine, do you want to pick up on that question?
Certainly, Chair. There's 3 questions there. First of all, Councillor Kerrigan, it's an outline application. Yes, it is a major outline application that wants to access onto Trunk Road, Protected Route, Key Transport Corridor, Trans-European Network, and as such, and I was thinking of other major applications which would have the same requirement on them. The access has to be designed now to show that the applicant agent has control of the land. First of all, can provide a safe design to the standard of the design manual for roads and bridges, and has control of the land to provide that design or deliver that design. And that also includes a road safety audit to at least stage 1, which is which ordinarily would not be a requirement for a new development access, and mostly, but because this is key transport corridor and trans-European route, it is a requirement. And that is in common with, I'll give you the most recent major application that comes to mind, and that would be Ballyowen Housing, H30 Phase 1 at Call Roundabout in the city, in Derry City, which agreed detailed design at outline application stage, and went through the safety audit process before it got its outline planning permission, and that would be the case for any major application coming onto this standard of road. Second question about the A5 you have, the recent press statement and statement from the Minister has maintained commitment to the A5, and yes, there will be, and I'm not familiar with all the terminology of it, but there will be some more research and reporting to be done, which may add some time to completion of this element, which would be phase 2A of A5. It's not part of phase 1, it's phase 2A. Was there a third question? I'm sorry, I lost track.
There was the third question. It was in relation to the what in the delivery, upon delivery of the A5, would that alleviate any concerns from DFI roads?
No, because this is a planning application in front of us for approval now, and I'm not aware that, well, at this stage, the programme is to have the A5 delivered by 2028, which is at least 7 years away, and this is the planning application in front of us, this is the site in front of us, this is the access proposal in front of us, and this is the evidence we're using to assess this application along with our own strategy, policy and observations. So unfortunately not.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Chair?
Yeah, go on ahead, Keith.
Chair, in that regard there, from my understanding there, or maybe I picked it up wrong here, but I'm just trying to get clarification in my own head here. Effectively, even if the A5, there's a new A5 built, and the road is as it is, you know, that they would still have to go through the process of getting these various traffic surveys and getting the proper access deemed and provided for to DFI here at that stage. But as the man says, that maybe is not, maybe I'm picking it up wrong, but my understanding that's not the case. And usual with an outline application, that would be more something for a full application. But this is needed full stop. Should it be from my understanding here now, from what Lorraine said, they need to do this proper traffic, get the proper access sorted out, or what plans for the access, how they're accessing the current A5, and how it'll be dealt with. If that information has been afforded to the applicant, and if so, is it along the lines of that have they had time to develop that and get that? I mean, do we need a deferral here on this here? Is it the case that this information hasn't been provided by the applicant, or has the applicant been notified that they're required to provide this for DFI? And also, is there not, but I know we went over it before, but I didn't get a chance to look through the notes in relation to the previous, when this was raised before, in relation to can Lorraine just, and apologies, Chair, for taking the time, can Lorraine just double confirm why there's not effectively a precedent set with the entrance for Castle Grange kind of opposite here being allowed? I understand in relation to Strabane Road and Orchard Road, there were existing roads, whereby Castle Grange was a new entrance. Is there not effectively a precedent set whereby that had been allowed by DFI, that an access can be allowed onto this site? So has there been a precedent set with that? And is this information required full stop? Should this be deemed as a protected route or not? And has that been relayed to the applicant? So there's kind of three questions again. Apologies, Chair, that I'm taking time.
Oh, not a problem, Alderman Kerrigan. I'm going to bring Suzanne on to provide a bit of clarity before Malachy and Lorraine can touch on your questions.
Okay, Chair, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of the principle of the information, really, we debated this at length in July 2020, whereby we did not have the detailed transport assessment, right? That was one of the reasons for refusal. It was very clear the information that would be required. This is an outline application, which would appear to be a very comprehensive development. The transport assessment and its contents are fundamental in determining the principle of this application. So I would not be sharing the view that this is something that we could leave to reserve matters or full stage. I mean, we have noted in the report there, paragraphs 11.10 to 11.12 of those issues that are not yet being addressed. In terms of the discussing those with the agents, the agent was made aware that the information that had been submitted was unacceptable and didn't meet the issue in terms of the TA. We were also asked as officers to bring the application to committee by the applicants, so that is what we've done, and we only received the response from Road in the last few weeks at committee meetings. So I think it's really important that this TA is not something that this TA will help determine if the principle of this is acceptable, and it's important that this information would be available to members if members were of the view that they were not going to accept the officer recommendation on the principle of the scheme.
Okay, thanks, Suzanne.
Chair. So thanks very much, Chair. Apologies, and thanks, Suzanne, for clarifying that. So it's the case that there is, from my understanding, there's information required that's not there. Is that just the bottom line?
Through the Chair, information was submitted. That information has not met the requirements of the technical requirements of the TA, okay? And it also has not, in the officer's view, it has not met the requirements to demonstrate that this is indeed exceptional and to allow this proposal access onto this key transport corridor.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thanks, Alderman Kerrigan. There's a few indicated speakers. Councillor Jason Barr.
Thanks, Chair, for allowing me in. Again, I can't vote on this today due to me not being at the first hearing in July, but I just want to put on record my full the backing for this project as well. The public are crying out for here in the town, but it's just regarding the access on the protected route. Can anybody answer me the question on how the access was granted to the Lifford Cinema, or sorry, not Lifford Cinema, my bad, the Oma Cinema, which is on the A5, how that was done?
Can you provide any clarity on that?
Apologies, Chair, I lost sound there. Were you talking to me or Malachy? Strabane?
It was Malachy.
Sorry, the application is in Fermanagh and Oma. I don't have the information before me, so I can't give you an answer on why that is. I'm not sure if it's on the protected route or not. I'm not aware of the details of the application. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate that.
Excuse me, Chair. I don't know if I'm speaking out of turn, but I can actually answer that question if it helps.
No, you're not. If you can provide clarity, then that means.
Sorry, I've said it now. It's not Lifford Cinema. It's the Oma Multiplex off the Great Northern Road in Oma, and it has a left slip from the bypass or from the Northern Road into the cinema, and that was accepted for both traffic progression and equally road safety reasons. Those traffic wishing to access the cinema, and apologies, I don't have the road names. I can direct it in my head, but I don't have the road names. traffic coming from the Dublin direction and wanted to go to the seminar would have to go up to the lights, take a right, and queue back, which would then obstruct oncoming traffic, give traffic progression issues, consequently road safety issues. So it was looked at as part of the design and the road safety audit, and it was accepted that a left slip in only was acceptable, and all traffic leaving the cinema had to go out onto, I think is it Kevlin Road. But that was gone into in some detail for, and I haven't got the planning reference, but yes, it is a Fermanagh application from pre RPA.
Thanks for that, Lorraine. Councillor Barr, does that answer your question?
Oh, that's great. Thanks very much for that reply. So no, basically, it's just I know that I listened under the committee meeting back last July. I couldn't make the meeting because I was down south with family, but no, it's just about keeping to the positives, keeping to what this is all about for the benefit of the community, and how much heart and soul that Strabane Athletic has put into this, like Seamus and the founder members, before players, past players, that want to see this delivered. So I know we've all been over this before, the debate, but you know, it'd be great now if this could be passed today for the benefit of the community. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thanks to everyone who's spoken on and provided information. I think, you know, look, we're some way more forward than we were when this was presented to the committee last time, particularly around the habitat stuff. But there's still some outstanding issues from DFI, and there does seem to be a question mark around an ongoing question mark around the regional significance question. And given that 4 of the 5 objection reasons relate to the DFI, I just wonder what kind of conversations have taken place, maybe at a ministerial level, around acknowledging whether this does conform to a regionally significant application, and whether, as a result of that, it would be available to avail of the exception onto a protected route that a really significant application would be allowed to access onto. I think, you know, there's a huge amount of concern in relation to road safety that's everyone will have read in that report. I think 11.2 in particular. There's 19 separate issues raised, and I appreciate a lot of those can be dealt with in terms of the technical assessment. But I think there's an overriding issue is the access onto the protected route. And I think if we had if someone can confirm whether that conversation has taken place with the minister, or whether, you know, we can defer in order to have that conversation with the minister in terms of getting a letter that would give us comfort as a committee in moving forward, in terms of this being a regionally significant application that would be allowed onto that the department wouldn't object to having access onto the protected route. I think we could move forward a lot more quickly on that basis. So maybe if somebody could just maybe clarify that first of all.
Yeah, through the chair, Councillor Kelly. Yes, you'll recall at the meeting in July that members had asked us to put DFI on notice that of the intentions of the committee on the desire for the scheme and the importance of the area. So we did write off to DFI to advise them. We got a response to say that the decision as to whether there would be a call-in and looking at the issues of regional significance would only be taken after the committee takes a decision on it. So really, we need the committee to make a decision on that aspect of it, before we could get before the department will decide whether they need to call it in or not.
Thanks, Suzanne. Dan, does that provide any clarity?
Yeah, it does. So I mean, there's no value in deferring to get further information. We've got that now. We make the decision, and they call it in on the basis of, I don't know what, like the Article 17 notice before. So I'm presuming that it's going to be called in on the basis that it's accessing a protected route, and it represents a major departure from the area plan. Will it be the DFI then who will take a decision. It'll be the minister who will take a decision on this, whatever we decide, if we decide to overturn.
Yeah. So just in terms of sequence of events, if there's a decision today on the principle of the scheme, right, we would then notify DFI. They will then more than likely issue the holding information to us. They will then decide whether to call it in or not. If they don't call it in, it will come back to committee for either issue or whatever DFI might add on that. But if they do call it in, it will be totally taken out of our hands, and all the other details in terms of the TA and things like that will be dealt with by DFI.
Any further questions, Councillor Kelly?
That's fine, thank you, Chair.
Is there any further questions from members? No? Members, if we have no further questions, there's a recommendation in front of us. And I know we have went through this at some length, not only at today's meeting, but in the meeting in July. And there was a clear direction set by the committee at that stage. I acknowledge that there may be some shortcomings in terms of the transport assessment that's been submitted. It would be interesting just to hear how members feel about that. Councillor Gallagher, do you want to come on? And then Councillor Kelly.
Chair, just and just we have thrashed this out. And look, and the stuff around the natural habitat has been resolved. And this is mainly around how I believe the access to protected route. And I think it has been acknowledged today that that has been well compromised. And on the basis of that, I do think that this could have a regional significant project. So I think there's a lot of material considerations that need to come into play. And some of that's already been mentioned. The landlocked housing zone, this committee will know that there has been some significant developments around the Adria site, around some of the stuff around the Lady of Mercy site, and other major potential housing development within the Strabane area that, for me, is material considerations. So on the basis of that, I would propose that we overturn the decision, the recommended decision. Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Gallagher. Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, I was just going to propose that we overturn the application on the basis that it's a regionally significant application. But Councillor Gallagher is ahead of me, so I'm happy to second that. Although, yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any other comments, members? So there's a proposal from Councillor Gallagher to overturn the officer's recommendation and to approve the application, which has been seconded by Councillor Kelly. Is there any comments contrary to that? No, so members, I'm going to take that as a unanimous vote unless anybody indicates otherwise. So just for clarity again, Councillor Gallagher has proposed, seconded by Councillor Kelly, that we approve the application in front of us. Okay, members, that's unanimous. So that application has been approved. Members, just before we move on to the next application, members, we went way beyond the 2 hour mark. I appreciate that there were two fairly large applications, very complex applications, which required that certain level of there was quite a lot of detail contained within it. I'm going to suggest we take a 10-minute break at this point, and so it's 10 to 5 now. I'm going to suggest we reconvene the meeting at 5 o'clock. I'll see you all online. 10 minutes. Good afternoon, members. Welcome back. Members, our next application is LA 11 2020 0689. It's item appendix 2 in our packs. Members, and I know you'll have realised that items 2, 3, and 4, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are they're relating to a similar area, the same area. But all 4 of those applications are separate and they will be presented separately, but there will be similarities in relation to the reports. So Andre will outline those similarities when she's detailing the report, and I'm not asking her to go into the detail. They be repetitive in some of the later reports. So I'm going to hand over to Andre, and she'll take us through the first report, which is item 2.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. Item 2 is L11 2020 0689, and it's a Section 54 application seeking amendment of Condition 2 of Planning Permission A 2011-0197F, and it's immediately adjacent to 1 Ballynagar Crescent, Kilmore, and the recommendation is to approve. So Condition 2 of Planning Permission A11-197 is currently stating, prior to the occupation of 50% of the residential units hereby approved, the developer shall construct, lay out and provide all areas of open space, including the changing facility, equipped children's play park and football pitch, and plant all landscaped areas, including peripheral planting, as indicated on approved plans, unless otherwise agreed by council in writing. The proposed amended wording of Condition 2 is to read, prior to the occupation of 80% of the residential units hereby approved, the developer shall provide all areas of open space, including community facilities and equipped play park, and plant all landscaped areas unless otherwise agreed by council in writing. So, members, the application site is located within the settlement limit of Kilmore, with residential properties of Thornhill Park and Ballynagar Crescent to the north and east of the site, and Thornhill College is located to the south of the site. The site is accessed from Alder Road. There are 2 current live approvals on the site, both of which can be implemented. So the first is A 2011-0197, and that was approved as 50 proposed social housing dwellings. I'll not go into the detail there, plus a single-storey changing facility, 11-a-side football pitch and children's play area, all with ancillary site works, including public road improvements to Alder Road, and extension of footpath at land immediately adjacent to 1 Ballynagar Crescent, Kilmore, and permission was granted by Planning Committee in November 2017. The second application is LA 11 2019-0128, and that was for the erection of 12 dwellings, an extension of a road, and again that was on the same site, and that was an amendment to the previous approval as detailed above, and permission was granted by Planning Committee in November 2019. It is Condition 2 of Planning Application A 2011-0197, which is being sought to be amended in this application. Whilst 2 permissions exist on the site, the 2019 application was an amendment to the previous application, and ultimately there will only be a total of 50 dwellings on the site, with associated open space and community facilities to be provided. This slide shows the layout of the development as approved under the 2011 application. So members, in summary, the amendment to Condition 2 is proposed by the applicant, as it is no longer proposed to deliver the football pitch and changing facilities as approved under the 2011 application. However, the amended wording of Condition 2 still ensures that all areas of open space, including community facilities, i.e. allotments, and equipped play park and planting, will still be delivered as part of the overall development and prior to occupation of 80% of the dwellings as approved. The open space elements will still be delivered comprehensively as part of the overall master plan for the site for the benefit of the local community and the residents of the development as approved. Officers are satisfied that allowing the amendment to the condition which is a reasonable adjustment, the full development cannot be completed without community infrastructure being provided, and therefore the development will comply with relevant policy provision in PPS 7 and PPS 8. The amended condition 2 shall read, prior to the occupation of 80% of the residential units hereby approved, the developer shall provide all areas of open space, including community facilities and equipped play park, and plant all landscaped areas, including peripheral planting, unless agreed by the council in writing. And the recommendation, members, is to approve. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. Members, there's nobody requested speaking rights for this application, so we're straight on the questions to the officer. Are there any comments, members? Or questions? Councillor Mellon.
Thank you, Chair. I just waited for a minute there to see if there's any questions to officers, but if there's not, I'm happy to propose the recommendation that the committee go with the recommendation of officers and approve this application. It's there and it has been approved before. We welcome the housing and particularly maintaining the community infrastructure that'll come with it to the area. I know it's an area that lacks a lot of that, so we need to keep pressing on when these applications come, that does come alongside with it. So again, happy to propose, Chair. Thank you very much.
Ceiling. Any other comments, members? No. We've got a proposal to accept the recommendation. Seconder.
Chair, I'll second that.
Thanks. Members, if there's no further questions, I'm going to take that to a vote. So there's a proposal from Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Kelly, to accept the officer's recommendation to approve. Is there anybody with that opposed to that proposal? No, that's unanimous, members. Our next application is item number 3. It's LA11 2020-0690 F, and it's Andre. It's going to take us through that. Go ahead, Andre.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Item 3 is again a Section 54 application seeking an amendment of occupancy condition 2 of planning permission LA11 2019-0128, and again it refers to the same site immediately adjacent to 1 Ballinagara Crescent, Kilmore, and the recommendation is to approve. So condition 2 of planning permission LA11 2019 currently reads, prior to occupation of 50% of the residential units hereby approved in this application and associated application 2011-0197, the developer shall construct, layout and provide all areas of open space, including the allotments, equip children's play area, walkways and seating areas, and plant all landscaped areas as indicated in the approved plans, unless otherwise agreed by council in writing. The proposed amended wording of condition 2 is to read, prior to occupation of 50% of the residential units hereby approved, the developer shall construct, layout and provide all areas of open space, including the allotments, equip children's play area, walkways and seating areas, and plant all landscaped areas as indicated in the approved plans, unless otherwise agreed by council in writing. Again, members, the site history is as the previous application, A 2011-0197F and LA11 2019-0128F. This application is for amendment to condition 2 of the 2019 approval, and the details are there on the screen of the previous descriptions. So the amendments contained within the 2019 approval included the repositioning of 12 dwellings within the site, still giving a total of 50 dwellings for the overall site, and changes to the provision of open space and community facilities to include allotments and equipped play park. So members, officers are satisfied that amending the wording of condition 2 will not have an impact on the overall delivery of both the social housing and the community facilities on the lands at Ballynagard, and recommend that the Planning Committee approve this application. The amended condition 2 shall read, prior to occupation of 50% of the residential units, the developer shall construct, layout and provide all areas of open space, including the allotments, children's play areas, walkways and seating areas, unless otherwise agreed by council in writing, and the recommendation is to approve. Thank you, members.
Thanks, Andre. Members, any questions or comments? Councillor Mellon.
Sorry, Chair, if there is no questions to the officer, again, I'm happy to propose the recommendation that we approve the application.
Okay, thanks, Eileen, and that was seconded by Councillor Boyle. Members, if there's no further comments, it's going straight to a vote. So we've got the approval proposed by Councillor Mellon, seconded by Councillor Boyle. If there's no objection to that, that's unanimous, members. So likewise, the next application is Appendix 4, LA 11-2020-0688F, and it's Andre is going to take us through that. Go ahead.
Again, members, this is a Section 54 application seeking amendment of Condition 11 to Planning Permission LA A 2011-0197, and again it refers to the same site, and the recommendation is to approve. So Condition 11 currently reads, the boundary treatments of the site along Alder Road as identified on one of the drawings shall be completed prior to occupation of the first dwelling unit and retained as such thereafter. The proposed amended wording of Condition 11 is to read, the boundary treatments of the site along Alder Road shall be completed prior to the occupation of 80% of the dwelling units hereby approved and retained as such thereafter. So this application again relates to the same site as per the previous applications, just outlined there on the screen. And again, members, the site has the benefit of 2 planning approvals as previously granted by Planning Committee, A 2011-197 and 2019-0128F, and again the details are there. So in summary, the amendment to the timing of Condition 2 as to when the landscaping and boundary treatments along Alder Road will be delivered will reflect what is being proposed for the timing of delivery of the open space and community elements of the overall development. Officers consider the amendment to Condition 11 acceptable, and that it ensures that the landscaping along Alder Road will still be delivered comprehensively as part of the overall master plan for the site for the benefit of the local community and the residents of the development as approved. So the amended Condition 11 shall read, the boundary treatments of the site along Alder Road shall be completed prior to the occupation of 80% of the dwelling units hereby approved and retained as such thereafter, and the recommendation is to approve. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Andre. I know that Councillor Boyle indicated in the chat box that he'll make a proposal. I have to give people an opportunity first to ask any questions. So if there's no questions, can I bring in Councillor Boyle?
Just to formally propose that we accept the officer recommendation for the record, Chair.
Appreciate that. Thanks, John. And that's been seconded by Councillor Mellon. So like before, members, I'll put that to the floor. So proposal from Councillor Boyle, seconded by Councillor Mellon. They accept the recommendation to approve. If there's no opposition to that, that's unanimous, members. And the last one for Andre is Appendix 5, LA 11-2020-0691. Andre.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, item 5 is a Section 54 application seeking amendment to Condition 11 of planning permission LA11 2019-0128, and again relates to the same site, and the recommendation is to approve. So condition 11 of planning permission LA11 2019-128 currently reads: the boundary treatment of the site along Alder Road as identified in drawing number 02 revision 2 shall be completed prior to the occupation of the first dwelling unit and retained as such thereafter. And the proposed amended wording of condition 11 shall read: the boundary treatment of the site along Alder Road as identified on drawing 02 revision 2 shall be completed prior to occupation of 50% of the dwelling units hereby approved and retained as such thereafter. Again, members, this application relates to the same site as previously discussed. And again, the site history is the same as before, with the 2 approvals as previously granted. This is the approved drawing 02 revision 2 as per condition 11, which identified the boundary treatments to be constructed prior to the occupation of the first dwelling. And in conclusion, members, officers consider that the amendment to condition 11 is acceptable and that it will ensure that the boundary treatment along Alder Road will still be delivered comprehensively as part of the overall master plan for the site for the benefit of the local community and the residents of the development approved. Therefore, it is recommended that members agree to the amended wording of condition 11, and that wording will be: the boundary treatments of the site along Alder Road shall be completed prior to occupation of 50% of the dwelling units hereby approved and retained as such thereafter, and the recommendation is to approve. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Andy. And before I bring Aileen or John in, I'm going to again offer it out. Does there anybody got any questions for Andre? No. Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Chair. Just again, for the record, as you'll require it, a formal proposal to accept the officer recommendation to approve.
And as before, it's been seconded by Councillor Mellon. So, members, if there's no questions, I'm going to take that to a vote. So, a proposal from Councillor Boyle to accept the officer's recommendation to approve, seconded by Councillor Mellon. Is there any opposition to that? No. I'm going to take that as unanimous, members. So, members, our last application is LA11 0/2021 0070. And a note that Alderman Hussey has declared an interest, but as a non-member of the committee, he wasn't entitled to speak in relation to this application anyway. But I'm going to hand over to Laura, and Laura will take us through this application. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So this is item 7. It's an application for advertisement consent. LA11 2021 0070 A. The proposals for a retractable awning with the advertised name as part of the awning, and the site's located at the Castle Inn, 48 Main Street, Castlederry, and the recommendation is to approve. Site's located within the development limits in the town centre. Castlederry is defined in the Strabane area plan. The building to which the awning is proposed to be attached is a public house, which is finished in smooth render with a grey stone along the front elevation. So this just outlines the policy context in which the proposal was assessed, including the SPPS, Strabane area plan, PPS 3, PPS 6 and PPS 17. So the proposals for a retractable awning with the buyer name and logo advertised on it. It will extend out from the front elevation of the building and is retractable, so it can fold back whenever it's not in use. So this slide just shows the proposed signage details. It's of a standard enough design. It measures approximately 10 metres in length and will extend out approximately 2 metres from the wall when fully retracted. As you can see, it has the bar's logo as well as the name. In terms of the materials, it's proposed to be black vinyl, The logo signage will be grey with the writing being white in colour. None of the signage is raised from the awning. In terms of consultees, DFI Roads were consulted because the awning extends out above the public footpath. They had no objections to the proposal. So the main policy consideration is PPS 17, policy AD1, parts 1 and 2. The proposal is considered to be relatively modest in size and scale and would not have a negative impact on the appearance of the public house or the surrounding area. The proposed signage will contribute positively to the site, will not appear as clutter or will not appear unduly prominent. And due to the design and nature of the proposed signage as a retractable awning, it's considered that it will not prejudice public safety. As I said, the proposal was also considered under PPS 6 as there are sites within an archaeological site and monument zone. Given the separation distance and the fact that there's no groundworks proposed, it was considered it won't have a negative impact on this. And as previously said, DFI Roads have been consulted in terms of any road safety implications, and they do not have any objections to the proposal. Therefore, the proposal complies with PPS 3. So this proposal has been made in response to the COVID-19 restrictions placed on businesses. It's considered that it will allow it to aid the business in the recovery from the pandemic, providing shelter and space to adhere to government guidelines. As such, approval is recommended, subject to the conditions there as set out in the reports and on the slide in front of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Members, is there any questions to the officer? Or if there's no questions, any comments, Alderman McClintock?
If there's no questions, I'm happy to propose acceptance of the officer's report.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Members, if there's no questions, I'm going to take that. So it's Alderman McClintock proposed they accept the officer's recommendation to approve, and which is seconded by Alderman Breslin. Is there any opposition to that? No. That's unanimous, members. So that concludes our applications for today. But I'm going to ask Pontius to take us through the consultation on the Donegal County Development Plan. Pontius there?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. The purpose of this paper is to advise the members that a formal consultation has been received from Donegal County Council regarding primarily a proposed variation to their county development plan in relation to three major pieces of upgrade to the road network within Donegal. We have the variation itself to the county development plan and also three separate environmental and flooding reports alongside it. The council is requested to submit its comments before the 9th of April and submit those comments via the Department for Infrastructure, who are the formal transboundary body, consultation body. In terms of, this may sound familiar to members because we have been consulted and approached a few times on this basic project before. Members will see in the report that we've detailed that we previously were consulted at the preliminary stage by the consultants, and that outlined the basic project, which is three elements. They're proposing a bypass of Ballybuffet Stranraer, just to the north of the settlement. Just south of Letterkenny, out to the main roundabout, they're proposing an upgrade and a change to the structure and alignment of that section at the southern edge of Letterkenny, and also, possibly most significantly and most relevant to ourselves, a new road which extends the aforementioned location at the edge of Letterkenny all the way down to meet the Strabane Lifford, just south of Lifford, close to the River Thin. So these are three major pieces of upgrade. They're part of the priority 10T road network for Donegal and the region. As I said, we previously submitted comments to the consultants in 2000, and then in July 2020. In July 2020, we were consulted on the SEA, the Strategic Environmental Assessment, and the appropriate assessment screening, and we submitted a further officer input. Then in October 2020, they had a reconsultation on the previous, and members considered that at the November 2020 committee, and we submitted our comments. And now this is the formal consultation on the variation itself. As set out, members, in the report, there's the variation document, and these are all available at that link on that we've given in the report. So hopefully members have had a chance to see the three roads. There's the formal variation document to their county development plan, and I've highlighted the main changes that they're proposing to make to the maps and the text. There's also an environmental report, which is it's a 265-page environmental report, and they assess the whole impacts both within that the county and also on this as an adjoining county. Said our previous comments appear to have been reported in the report and taken on board, and they have listed the key sites. There's also a 120-page Natura report, which is the appropriate assessment, and again they have reported our previous comments and listed all the key European sites within our district that could be affected. The third environmental document is a strategic flood risk assessment report, and again, particularly where the proposed new N14 road would approach the River Finn, just to the south and west of Lifford. They've taken them into account. So we've set out, members, in the paper that all three reports seem to be reasonable and have taken on board the concerns or any impacts on this district. Of course, at a detailed design stage, there would need to be further consideration of any effects on the district, particularly the road number 3 and the bridge, or how it would cross and directly address our district. But that would be at a detailed design stage. So, members, the recommendation is that members note this paper and agree for officers to issue the attached letter to the department. That letter, it's a fairly detailed department letter, and it's overwhelmingly positive as a partner organisation with this council in the Northwest region. So we are positive about their roads and how it links in with the overall connectivity of the Northwest region and with the roads on this side of the district. We have flagged up a few matters which are to be considered at the later stages, but as far as this council is concerned, we are positive and happy to support and submit those comments. So, members, I'm happy to take any questions or otherwise to consider the letter. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Francis. Councillor Maguire.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it's in relation to the Ballybofey Stranorlar bypass. The route that was proposed before, it's probably 12 odd years ago now. It was proposing to close a road called the Daisy Hill Road, and that was causing considerable angst among a lot of people from the north of Ireland who had been travelling into Ballybofey. That had been their main route, and there was actually a lobby group set up at that time, and it was people from the north as well as people from the Donegal end up around the border area. So I would like something put on there that, you know, the Daisy Hill Road, as far as we were concerned, would need to be protected and not closed or interfered with in any way. Words to that effect, Chair.
Thank you. Francis, could that be included in our response?
I was trying to just check just to see if that was still a relevant issue. I'm not sure if members have actually checked the latest version, but in the current county development plan, the bypass for Ballybofey and Stranorlar skirted around the southern side of the towns. This proposal is now a whole new one to the northern side. So I suspect that is no longer an issue, because it goes up the north and west side of the settlement. But I will certainly check that, and if it is in any way still an issue, members, I'd be happy to include it. But with the new, it's on the other side of the town, so it may not even be an issue at all now.
So it's on.
If that could be explored, and if appropriate, include the lines in relation to the protection and our opposition to the stopping up of that Daisy Hill Road. Is that you contend, Councillor Maguire?
Sure.
Any other comments, members? No. Councillor Harkin?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, look, it's just I'm glad to see that there are transportation improvements, and I think any opportunity we have, I think we should raise the issue of developing the rail network. I know that that's not the topic at hand, but I think that if there's comment is sought on how to best develop the Donegal, the Derry and beyond transport networks, I think we have to try and point to that. We have had a lot of discussion obviously about this in our council, but there is very little, there's no spades going into the ground and none planned for anytime soon to actually develop rail. So I think we should be, wherever we can, if it's appropriate, trying to put in something about opening up that discussion to make sure that it's included and in people's sight. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Harkin, and it is a very relevant point in respect to the development plan variation. I think it is. It's something we should certainly explore. Francis, do you want to come on?
Thank you, Chair, and Councillor Harkin. Suppose we're not directly asked about the wider transportation, but I suppose we're asked about these three specific pieces of road network. But we have referred, and members may have noted, in one section where we have brought it to the attention that the council has in our LDP proposed a feasibility study of the potential for future rail links into Donegal and between Derry, Letterkenny, and that this should be borne in mind. So it would be timely and that would be the opportunity to reinforce it if members require that that members do feel strongly that this should be progressed and this potential borne in mind.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just a couple of comments. One is in relation to, well, thanks to Officer to Pronches for the report and the draft response. Very welcome, and it's very detailed. There's just one small thing that niggles me, and that's on page 150 as labelled on the letter. It's paragraph 2 of that page, and it talks about the Northwest region and its infrastructure. And I know Pronches has said that he wants to try and keep it positive, but I think it's important that we acknowledge the fact there's an infrastructure deficit. So I would propose, instead of the Northwest region and its infrastructure, I would say the Northwest region and proposals to address its infrastructure deficit might be a better introduction to that, because I think we do need to acknowledge the fact that these developments need to take place, should have taken place decades ago. I also welcome the, as Councillor Harkin had mentioned, around the railways. It's on the bottom page, 151 is labelled on the letter. The last paragraph of section A, it mentions a future feasibility study. I think that should be a potential future feasibility study, because there's nothing actually committed, as has been referenced already, to that in terms of funding. But that just reads that that funding has been committed and that will happen, whereas I think we're further back than that even, regrettably. So just in terms of that section on the railways and future railways, if that maybe could, I don't know whether other people agree or not, but that would be my take on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Francis, will those points be noted?
Yeah, they've been noted, and if I'm happy to them in if as the committee decides.
Members, is everybody content, or is there any further changes that members are proposing? No. Well, as I'm going to need a proposer to endorse the letter with the proposed changes that's been outlined today. Councillor Mellon's proposed with the changes that
I'll second it, Chair.
And seconded by Councillor Kelly. Is there any further comments, members? I'm going to take that as unanimous. No, that's us. Thanks, members. Thank you, Pronches. And that brings our meeting to a close. So again, I just want to thank you all for attending, and we get through the business without the requirement of a second day. So
thanks, Chair.
Well done, everyone. I'll see all the members anyway tomorrow, full council.
Thank you, Chris.
Right, see you
Thanks,
later.
Chair.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you,
Bye,
Chair.
everyone.
Right. Good luck, folks.